You know who, back again with another Talking Ghosts. And tonight, we will literally talk about ghosts in probably a way that I never expected to do. So, tonight, I have two very special guests with me from a group called Relatively Paranormal. But before I begin that, I kind of wanted to go through the whole how we met type of thing. So, every once in a while, I go on eBay. And when I go on eBay, I tend to look at sometimes haunted dolls. Those of you that know me very well know about me and haunted dolls. And that's where Melissa came from. And that's where my other dolls came from as well. Sally, who is a terrifying entity that resides in my other doll that's over 100 years old. You know, but those are things that you don't always find. Like, you don't always go into eBay and come out of it with things that are very interesting. You know, I've been, to be honest, I've been ripped off on eBay. I have been. Although it's good to see you. I've been ripped off, and that really bugs me when that happens. But once in a while, you do find things that are authentic and genuine. And so was the case with several of my haunted dolls, and sometimes even with equipment. And on one particular day when I was scrolling through and looking at different devices, I came across something that I found to be very intriguing. And it was this electromagnetic pump. Now, I've worked with some of these in the past, and I can tell you straight up, a lot of these things are, ugh, they're okay, but they don't, tend to do, in my opinion, as well as they claim the people that are inventors that their devices can create this evidence that people like myself need. Aloha to everybody that's coming in this evening. Thank you all for being here, Carol. And let me see here. Let me take a look here. Ed, it's good to see you. Susan, it's good to see you. Amy, it's good to see you. It's good to see everybody. So this device really intrigued me. And so much so that I actually started to communicate with the seller, and sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's not. In this particular case, I was very lucky, and we actually created a conversation out of my interest in purchasing his invention. And to be honest, it was a great thing. I didn't expect the conversation to go so well. So we started to get to know each other all around this device, which, he was kind enough to let me know how it operates and such. And so I did use it. You guys saw me use it on Man Camera Ghost Part 2. And the results were very interesting, to say the least. I've used it several more times. I did exactly what he told me to do. And I can say, without a shadow of a doubt, that there was a reaction out there from whoever it is that observed me with what I do on my YouTube channel. So tonight, I would like to introduce to you folks Todd and I believe Marissa. They are from a group called Relatively Paranormal. Fantastic stuff, by the way. They have a YouTube channel. What I'm going to do for you folks at the end of this is I will drop a link to their channel. I really recommend checking them out. They have such fantastic evidence. And what is also good is the presentation on that and how they go about doing their investigations and sharing that information with all of us. It's going to be fantastic. I'm telling you guys, this is only part one. We're looking at this iceberg and we're just seeing the tip of it. And we're going to go all the way into the depths of the paranormal and his experiences with it, and also me sharing with him as well. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce you all to Todd. I think Todd will be speaking first. And he's going to give us an idea about all of this stuff that has to do with ghosts and demons. And I'm sure at some point in time, there'll be other things to talk about as well. I guarantee you, folks, these people are very interesting. Todd, aloha, and welcome to Ghosts of Hawaii. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm here with my wife Marissa tonight. We are thrilled to be talking to you. And you hit the nail right on the head. We certainly have had some fantastic conversations. Like you, Marissa and I love talking and hearing about the paranormal. It's almost an obsession, to be honest with you.
Thank you so much, Philip, and aloha, everybody. I just want to say hi. Again, my name is Marissa, and yeah, it's one of my favorite, favorite topics. So I'm definitely excited to speaking with everybody tonight. So go ahead, Todd.
Okay, 1 second. Aloha, it's Todd, not Tom. Okay, go on. Go ahead, Todd. Yeah.
No, just to give you guys some quick background, like Philip, Marissa and I are actually sitting in a haunted house as well. It's our second haunted house. The first one we lived in about 10 years ago is what got us started on this path. I wasn't sure how I felt about the existence of the supernatural up until that point, and neither was Marissa. We actually haven't really given much thought to it until we moved into this one house where pretty much everything you could think of paranormal wise occurred. And we didn't know where to get help. We didn't think Zach Bagans or Grant and Jason were going to show up at our house to help us. So we just started researching it ourselves and went from there. You know, after researching it for a few years, I fully believe that before you do anything, I don't care if you're playing ping pong or ghost hunting, you should research the heck out of it first. You know, and then after a few years, we went out into the field and you know, gathered our own experiences and took it from there.
I will tell you though, like right at the beginning at that house, I did not believe anything paranormal was going on. I really honestly thought that maybe, like I was like losing my stuff. Like I was honestly literally losing my stuff everywhere. So, it really does make you feel crazy. So I was so happy. So Philip, I don't know if you know this, and everybody listening, that when I figured this out, I just kept it to myself because Todd and I were kind of like new in our relationship, so I didn't want to be like, hey, like I didn't want to bring up the subject because it wasn't something that I talked about at all. But it was just like after a few months, it was almost maybe a year that Todd and I were together, and he finally came out and he was like, we're sitting on the couch in our living room watching a show, and he came out and said, do you ever see anything in that corner over there? And I said, don't even tell me. I'm like, you see, and I always used to see either a dark shadow or sometimes I would see like a mist. And it was just always in the same corner of our living room. And I was able to basically, finish a sentence, and it was amazing that we were both seeing the same thing all along, and neither one of us said a thing about it.
I'll tell you what's funny though, and it makes sense now, and it didn't make sense then. Is as soon as we recognized it, the activity exploded. Like it went from like 0 to 100, like just from us seeing that one thing to all sorts of weird things happening just by recognizing it. And I'm sure you can understand that Philip.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I go. Yeah, yeah. That's fine. Call me Obaki. That Obaki means ghost in Japanese, and a lot of my guests get really into it when they hear me called by my name. But let me tell you something about all of this. For me, I lived in an extremely active location. What it was in the beginning, years ago. I love history when it comes to haunted places. It was known as the Oahu Insane Asylum. So right there, for those of us that traverse the terrain of the paranormal, when we hear things like asylums and hospitals and all these other great things, you tend to respond to that really, really strongly. But growing up, you don't know these things. But you brought up something very interesting. It's just a creepy little snapshot I'm going to give both of you and also the audience. They know more or less the story about what happened to me, but they don't know this one part that happened. And that is when I was a child and I would lay in my bed at night. We lived in this, it was a 2 bedroom place. And so in our room, there was like bunk beds because there were 4 of us. And so I'd be laying in the bottom with my brother, and the other 2 were on top. And there would be like this voice at the window that would kind of like start to talk. And I thought at first it was like my dad. I really did all the way through everything. I thought, my dad is just trying to scare me. It's late at night and stuff. But the moment I realized that it wasn't that is when everything went off like fireworks. It's very ghosts are scary with the way they try to work with us, or whatever their purpose may be. I think we try to figure that out. But I was absolutely terrified. And there's a long story behind all of it too. And I found out it wasn't just ghosts but demons. But then again, based upon location, sometimes you will have that aspect come into the picture. But what I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned that both of you, is that you noticed something and then it went off. Give me some examples, just a few, of what happened in your home as far as explosive scenarios taking place.
Okay, well, the first thing that we really noticed is objects going missing. We'd look for them everywhere, and then they would turn up back in the place where they were supposed to be. We both kind of have OCD in a point where like things have a place. For instance, we had a basket on a shelf next to the front door, and when I would come home from work, the keys would go in it. I was a salesperson, my notepad, my pens, my wallet, everything would go in it, and then we'd go somewhere, and something would be gone, or all of it would be gone, and we would frantically look around, because you can't go anywhere without your keys and your wallet, and we would look around for everywhere, and then maybe give up, and then like an hour later, Marissa would be like, "You're not going to believe this," and it would be back. And it actually created quite a bit of friction, which not the best thing for a new relationship either, because where do you think happened in the beginning? We blamed each other. And it was things like that. But we would see the thing that I saw first all the time is what the economist is talking about. When you sat on the couch, we had our TV on the wall, and you could see our bedroom door like out of your peripheral vision on the right-hand side. And I would see it looked like a 6-foot tall white thing walk by the door, but it was very fast, very fast. And I would see it almost every night. It was really like strange. But once we recognized this thing, we would hear footsteps. Now, we would live in an apartment, but you can tell when a footstep is right next to you or coming from above you or below you. Whispering in your voice, but you could never understand what it said. It got to the point where there was pounding on the walls. We had you know what a rabbit run apartment is, where all the doors to the rooms are connected.
Yes.
Like you can walk from into the next. Well, we had a door that became our daughter's bedroom, but at the time we just had as a walk-in closet. And I swear to God, we laid down in bed. It was actually like 3 a.m. We shut off the TV, and within like 10 seconds, something punched that door 3 times so freaking hard that I thought a person was in the house. Let me tell you, I searched the house with a baseball bat. That's how serious it was. Like, it scared it scared the hell out of me.
True story. Yeah,
it scared the hell out of me. One night we were laying in bed and the whispering happened. And we heard it. And I said, "Did you just whisper something?" But even though it came from the other side of where she was, it was very clear. And then Marissa said, "No, that was you." And we actually argued about it for like 10 seconds. And then it came from right above us, like as if a person was floating above us, whispering in our face. And Marissa said, "Stop doing that. You're scaring me." I said, "What do you mean? Your head's on my shoulder. We're laying in bed together. My arm is around you. Like, how could I whisper from above you?" And I said, "Listen, it's just a ghost. Ignore it. It'll go away." And then from the other side, Obaki, let me tell you something. As loud as you could yell, this thing yelled, but it was incoherent again. But it was as loud as like that loud. And it like started us to the point where I got up and yelled. I said, "Listen, I think we've been there for about a year." I said, I don't mind you being here, whatever, but I'll get somebody in here to get rid of you. I'll bring a priest in here, whatever." And then we didn't hear from the thing for like 3 months. But then when it did come back, let me tell you something. It's when I started getting paralyzed in bed. And I don't care what anybody says, sleep paralysis is not a scientific thing where your body wakes up, your mind wakes up before your body. That's not the case. I would be wide awake. I would see this thing. It was like a 7-foot tall shadow man. And I say this like in a joking but not joking manner. He looked like a villain from a Sherlock Holmes movie. He had no facial features. He had red eyes, but he had a top hat and a cape on. I'm not kidding. I've since seen it on documentaries. It really freaked me out. He would never do anything. He would just sit there. But when I tell you I couldn't move, I couldn't speak. I could see Marissa laying next to me. I could see the ceiling. I could see the room. I was wide awake. It was the scariest thing in the whole world. And the only thing I could do is make this weird noise trying to call Marissa's name when I was there.
Yeah. Oh, God.
And she'll tell you about, like, from there,
it just sounded like a moaning and a grunting together. It was kind of like, like that's all I heard. It was really frightening because, like, Todd, like, uh, he's like a manly man, you know. So to hear like a whining coming out of him is really bizarre, and it was pretty spooky.
It's the only thing I could do, though. It was the only thing, and she would literally have to, especially once she recognized what would happen, she would have to grab me by the shoulders and shake me for 30 seconds until I would finally like be able to break free of the whatever this thing was.
Sometimes you fall back into it, and I just have to keep doing it.
Yeah, that was freaky too. But let me tell you something. This is something that never happened to me. I'm 47 now. At the time, I was like 36, 37 years old. Never happened to me before I moved in there. And the second we left, it stopped. And when I say it happened on a regular basis, it would happen 2 to 4 or 5 times a week sometimes. I'd be afraid to go to bed sometimes because I would be afraid it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, it was horrifying. It was horrifying. Absolutely horrifying.
Classic description of shadow people. I mean, there's a lot, but you can type it into Google and shadow person. You see the one with the hat show up. We've encountered shadow people as well. I was held down by one also, and it happened on more than one occasion. And it's these things that are big and even small with the paranormal that really start to change you as a person. I mean, we are basically as human beings black and white seeing people. That's how we see the world. We don't practically see all the other colors and hues. We're just human beings. We're going through our day to day and such, and then these things happen. I believe that it's just a matter of time before most people will have something that they just cannot explain in their lives. And in your situation, both of you, it really sounds like it was just a very active type of scenario. And I think sometimes with the poltergeist activity and stuff, it serves many different purposes for spirits. I know at one time I heard this fascinating story. Actually, I read up about it where this woman's spirit was trying to communicate with her family because she passed away. She passed away rather suddenly too, and she didn't know that she had passed. So, she was really upset. She'd be talking to her husband and her kids, and no one would respond to her. So, what did she do? She started making noises and throwing things about. So, that's just an example of, to me, the fascination in just trying to decipher why this is happening. So, the next question I wanted to ask you is this was all before you got involved in the paranormal, or you just so happened to live there and you've already started the research?
Yeah, no, I haven't done any research on it. I'll be honest with you, I had just learned that ghost hunting even existed maybe a few months before that. I had seen an episode of Ghost Adventures, and I said, I didn't even know that people did this. I didn't know there was equipment for it. I didn't know any of that. And then a few months later, we moved into that house. And from there, then I really started not just watching shows, but I'm a voracious reader at times, especially if I find a book that I find interesting, and I would go find anything I could to buy on the subject, especially at like Savers. I don't know if you have a lot of thrift stores in Hawaii, but
Yes, we do. We have savers.
some of these places have tons of books. So I would just grab everything I could that I even thought was semi-related to the topic, just to fill my mind with with different things that I could learn about it. And and kind of I'm the type of person where I like to soak up as much as I can from each person I encounter, each book I read, and then formulate my own thoughts on it. Marissa and I will talk about it for a while, and then we go and ask the spirits, is this true? This is what we think. Is this true? And we use our spirit box that I invented called the Vortex, which gives very clear answers, and we try to glean our answers from that. The spirit in our current haunted home is a documented spirit named Angie, who passed here in 2012, I believe. And when we moved in here, Marissa and my daughter sensed something, that there was a spirit here, so we did a quick investigation, found out there was. And then we asked the building manager if anyone had passed in the house, and he said, yes, sir. I only remember her first name. It's Angie. And that night we busted out the Vortex, and Marissa started talking to the spirit. And she said, well, what's your last name? And she told us right away, like, I think at first person thought it was one thing, and then she said, no, it's this. And she typed it in because it was such a recent death that came right up. And the freaky thing is, we had already had a picture of this spirit that was actually a pretty good picture of her, and it matched identically. Like, I almost keeled over on the couch when I saw this. Like, so we've since almost developed a relationship with this spirit. It's kind of the unseen roommate. And not only did she give us a lot of the answers about the spirit world, like, we want to know, like, even like what a ghost daily life is. Like, what is your existence like? Like, how do you move about? The orbs we see, are those you? Yes, it is. Can you actually use mirrors as portal? Like, she said, yes, all spirits do. Like, things like that. And she's been extremely helpful that way. We haven't been able to find anyone to help her by passing her on, and it kind of breaks our heart a little bit. And we actually recently found out that there's a negative spirit in the house. We thought it was just a human spirit, but we think it's something else now. But we recently found out that she's protecting us from it. And she even whispered to my daughter the other morning. My daughter said, somebody was whispering in my ears this morning, Mommy, was it you? And my wife said, no, honey, I've been over here sleeping. And she said, well, I think she said her or something. And then we asked Angie that night, and she said, no, I said, I'm here. As if to say, like, I'm watching over you, I'm here, type of thing. And it's been really fascinating. And we've been able to get so many answers because, let's face it, on a paranormal investigation, by the time you make contact and get past the basics, try to get a name out of them, yada, 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 it's almost time to leave before you can get any real answers.
Interesting.
So to be able to have a spirit that you're already on a first-name basis with, like any other person, the more you know them, the more they'll open up to you. And she's told us all sorts of things.
So Angie, let me just quickly tell you that the reason she stayed here, the reason that she's still around, is because she passed away with her children laying in the bed with her. She had a little girl and a little boy, and she was hoping to stay there and to protect them. She stuck around for them. So she was well aware, she did tell us she was well aware that she passed away. And she watched the father of her children run out the door. He took off as soon as the children realized that she wasn't waking up, and they went and told him. He took off, left the kids there with the mother who had passed away. It was pretty horrific. So he stayed around, didn't want to leave her body, obviously, even after the police came and whoever came to take her away. So that's the reason she's still here.
Excuse me.
And so what I was going to say was, I know that we don't exactly know how to move people on. So I do want to do something for her. So I reached out to her family. I was hoping to bring her kids over because her kids are now grown. They have their driver's license. They're like, I think 16 and 18 years old. And I ended up making contact with her two sisters, and we brought them over here. So we were able to do a little something for her. But I'd really like to see her move on, and hopefully we'll be able to do that for her someday.
That's a very good thing to do. I mean, I believe that there is a very real human element to spirits. The human ones. I mean, they still carry on with who they are. Their identity and everything else is intact. And I believe just as much as we get traumatized, they get traumatized too. But I believe that there is a possibility that the way they react on that side, or just the set of circumstances, could be, very much so different. And so, what you speak about is, it's the nicer side of the paranormal, believe it or not. It's the side that you don't always hear about. Yeah, you don't get the scary stuff. You get the more heartfelt stuff coming out of it. 1 second, please, while I address some of these people. By the way, thank you, folks, for the likes. You all know that the likes that you give to this channel and to the videos help us out tremendously. If you are new to my channel, welcome to Ghosts of Hawaii. This is a place where we do interviews, really great stuff with people like Todd and Marissa, I believe, and they're from Relatively Paranormal, and other guests that we have. The wide variety of topics on the spirits that are still here with us. We also do investigations and live scary things like what I do with myself with like man camera ghost. Man camera ghosts. I'm having part 3 coming up. That'll be around Halloween night. I will be using the device from Todd and Marissa of Relatively Paranormal again on that night, and that should be very interesting as well. As far as you getting help for your spirit there, that's still residing and everything, I did mention my roommate who is very gifted in that, and we may be able to hook up some type of situation. Whether we'll do it on the show or not, I'm not too sure. I think we would have to work with putting you folks on camera, and then she can take a look around at your home and stuff, and get an idea and stuff. And she also would like to see what you look like because it helps with identifying energy and stuff like that too. I don't know how this works because I just go out to these places and I experience things, and sometimes I hear and I see. So that's my next question to both of you. Is there a before and after set of circumstances as far as your perception is concerned? Because in my life, I have had glimpses of them and I've seen them and I've heard them. I've dealt with attachments. I get really upset about the whole idea that when you have an attachment, that people will look at you differently and saying, "Well, you caused the attachment," or yada yada yada, and they just kind of like judge before knowing. But you know what? I ain't got no problem with that. I put my heart on my sleeve, and I know my heart is able to take anything that people give to me. But it might have been because of the fact that I've had spirit attachments because of the first place that I lived in, and so on. But it wasn't very pertinent until I got involved with the paranormal. And after that, you talk about the word that you used earlier, the explosion. I started to hear and see things. Did you folks go through a before and after set of circumstances with your perception as well?
Are you talking about like our perception as far as like
Seeing and hearing and feeling.
to them now?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
No doubt about it.
Even like, listen, I'm the least like sensitive out of the both of us by a long shot, and even now, like, I sense things. For instance, I was volunteering at my daughter's softball field this year, just like putting down the chalk lines and helping them mow the lawn, and I kept seeing this thing out of the corner of my eye, standing in the dugout a couple times, and I couldn't tell really whether it was male or female, but I kept telling Marissa, "There's a spirit here, there's a spirit here." And one day I took out an ITC app on my phone and let it rip, and right off the bat, this guy named Eddie came through and said that he was watching one of his kids' ball games back in 1983 with his wife, and he had a heart attack in the stands and died. Has been stuck there ever since. Like, so yes, absolutely. I certainly wouldn't have even entertained the thought of seeing a spirit a few years ago, 5-6 years ago, forget about it. I would never even entertain that thought. But to me, like, it's stuff like that that really just like blows my mind.
Yeah, change is everything, and it does happen quite often with people. And then there are some people that are just they go out. I remember I went out just 1 week ago, and I was doing a spirit box session in Waikiki, and one of my dear friends came out with me and didn't feel anything at all. But I was filming one portion of it after we had done the spirit box session, and it was quite interesting. What happened was, it was long story short, I had my K2 meter that I wanted to measure your device with, but I forgot to do it because I got caught up with the spirit box. So what happened was, there's this, those things that you stick onto your window that you can hold your cell phones and everything on. My friend goes, "Just put your K2 meter on there, So I did, and we were driving around, and talking about this shadow person and other things. And then lo and behold, the damn thing started going off. It just started going off. But then my friend, my other friend's son that was in the car with us, he started feeling something heavy. I felt something heavy, from the very beginning that we had arrived at this other location. And so we're like, "There's something here." And then I started saying, "Get out of the car," or, "You better stop doing that." And the damn thing went off. The K2 would spike, it would bury itself towards the red. So it's amazing how some people will just not feel it. And I notice you have another person that goes with you on your investigation. We'll talk about the Lizzie Borden investigation. But does that person feel it as well, or doesn't feel anything at all when you go out?
He does feel stuff too. He feels energies when we arrive.
Hmm.
He's not. It's strange because Brand's been with us a couple of years now. I mean, he wasn't with us in the very beginning, but he started investigating with us a couple of years ago. The guy I met at work, just became good friends with him. He brings his family over here, type of thing, and he'll feel things when we get there. But then sometimes, like
He gets caught up in looking for things with his eyes instead.
well, he wants to experience something because for some reason he's still not a true believer, which blows my mind because listen, man, we capture a lot of crazy evidence. We see a lot of crazy stuff, experience stuff, and to him, after watching an SLS figure try to climb into or out of our spirit box for half an hour, how he could still be like semi-skeptical. Like, for instance, the other day we were in a cemetery and nobody was near the EMF detector. There was no equipment near it. It was sitting on like a monument, like one of those tall, like it looks like a big, like it looks like the Washington Monument in a
Yes,
graveyard.
I know what that one is. Yes.
So he had just put it down on there, and we're way away from it, and it starts beeping. So he goes over and stares at it, and it's still beeping. And he's like, "Whoa, is there any electricity near here?" It's an old graveyard. There's no lights in there. There's no electricity. I said, "No, it's a ghost trying to talk to you." And he sat there trying to debunk the thing instead of trying to communicate. And it kept going off. Like when I would say, "It's a spirit trying to speak to you," it would beep. And then he's like walking around. He's like, "Nope, it's still beeping. It's still beeping." I'm like, "Bro, that's because it's a ghost that wants to talk to you. It's a spirit. It's trying to go." And then finally the spirit said, "F you," and went away. And that was the end of it. Like, I said, "Bro, we could have had a nice piece of evidence there."
He hasn't had his experience. He hasn't had that one personal experience.
Well, he didn't live in a
That's
haunted
so
house.
profound, and that's not, that's I think what's preventing him from becoming a 100% true believer in it. We can show him all the evidence that we were all able to get, but until he sees, like I was able to see that spirit with my eyes, and he
Yeah.
felt there were things, but he hasn't had that yet, and I think that's the issue.
Well, the first spirit I ever saw was my grandfather passed in his bed, God rest his soul, when I was 9 years old. And, about 6 months later, I was playing in my grandmother's house, and I looked up, and he was standing there, solid as you and me. And it took me a second to register that he had passed, and then I realized I could kind of see through him and see the bureau, like, through him and the picture. And by the time this registered with me, he just faded away right in front of me. And it's something that for years, like, I battle with myself, because it's when you're a kid, too. Did I see that? Did I didn't? But now I know I did, for a fact. I guess he's never seen anything like that personally, but, like, I would think that he had done enough investigating by now that he would be a true believer, but...
Amazing. Hold on one second.
He is pretty strange.
Jolene is asking me a question. By the way, folks, if you have any questions for Relatively Paranormal, very happy to hear what you have to share. But do me a favor. Let's wait until I give the Q&A part of it to happen. Jolene said, would love to know your opinion on playing Randonautica here on Oahu. We would like to, but no, we have strong spiritual hotspots in Hawaii and are kind of on the fence about it. Well, you know what? Considering the type of spirits that we have here, there are great concerns about that. There's a plethora of different types, and it's all based upon Hawaiian culture. The one to be really concerned about interacting, it will of course be the night marchers. And if you're new to my channel, go ahead and Google night marchers, because they are terrifying. And the best thing to do is when you see the torches or you hear the conch shell, get out of the area immediately. No joking about that. One person once said that that the difference between here in Hawaii and other locations as far as ghosts are concerned is ghosts will definitely go out of the way to kill you. And we don't want to be joining them on the other side until, the natural phase of our life comes about. Aristocat, it's also good to see you. Kuhao, it is good to see you. My friend, we will be doing a show with you again sometime soon. Do me a favor at the end of the night. Please, if anything happens within the course of the show and we need prayer, please do some prayer to shield from any type of spiritual interference within the interview. So again, thank you guys for waiting, Todd and Marissa. And so the next thing I would like to ask you about is, you know, that old saying also that they say in Hollywood about the things that are most interesting is location, location, location. So let's talk about because I know we can talk about so many different things. You can take care talk about so many different things, but let's talk about some of the places that you have visited. And but before we do that, I think what would be good to talk about is the device that you sold me, which, you know, out of all the things I bought on eBay, I was absolutely impressed with it. Even when I just saw it and held it in my hands, I'm like, man, this is something different and unique. So tell me about the device that we're talking about, the EM pump and everything, and why you decided to make one.
So the power plant came about because for years we've seen on paranormal TV shows, everybody's equipment gets drained almost every episode or every show, and we've experienced it. We've experienced equipment manipulation, files being cut, all sorts of weird stuff. And I really looked into it. I read some books on it, and the spirits, we all know, are made of some sort of electromagnetic energy. And since they have no bodies, they have absolutely no way to hold it. So what's going on is they're draining your camera that may have an EMF, registration of 3 milligauss, 4 milligauss. Your cell phone, what's it got? A couple milligauss. They drain it. They do something. We all know that the activity will come into waves. They even say it on TV all the time, right? Oh, just drain the camera, just drain the battery of this. And then, that activity came, but it ended as quick as it started. So I really started to put some thought into this, and then I found out that people made EM pumps. Now, there's a lot of these online, and like you, I have purchased things online that I've been disappointed with, or got ripped off, or what have you. And we bought an EM pump from some guy. He's got 1 million of them on eBay. And when it showed up, it was kind of made of cheap plastic. But it seemed to have an effect on the spirits. We certainly got more activity using it, and I noticed that on our cameras a lot. We saw a lot of activity centered around the pump. Orbs flying into and out of it. Our SLS camera was catching a spirit on. It looked like it was on its knees, like huffing it, like you see somebody huffing paint or something. Like it looked like it was breathing in the energy.
Okay, so one moment. Let's talk about EM pumps so people get a better idea. So EM pumps, explain the theory about that real quickly, my friend.
So when you have a piece of your equipment that's putting off a small electromagnetic energy signature that they can feed off of, it's going to give them like a little jolt of energy. Then the equipment dies. Again, they'll do something and go away. An EM pump gives them a constant stream of usually, a few hundred to a few thousand milligauss.
Well, because they're made up
of electromagnetic energy. Right. But the reason why the pump works is because without a constant stream, all they can do is that burst of activity and they're done. Mm-hmm. And that's why you'll notice too, a lot of spirits will feel you out and kind of hide off to the side and then come out, because they're deciding whether or not it's even worth it to use any energy on you. Is this person going to, is communicating with this person and wasting all my energy, is that going to get me anywhere? Is that going to help me out anyway? Or am I lonely enough that I need somebody to talk to? That bad. If you think about it, we need energy, and when we feel low on energy or have no energy, we feel horrific. So if you're a spirit with no body and you have a hard time getting energy to begin with, and that happens, without a constant energy source, all you can do is a couple small tricks and go away. So what the EM pump does is it's like giving, what's the best analogy I can come up with? It's like plugging in a lamp that you can use on battery power too. If they had almost no battery power, but you plugged it into a wall and it had a constant energy source, it would work a hell of a lot better, right?
Yes.
It's the same thing. You're basically giving the spirit a plug. They can, an outlet they can plug themselves into, and interact with you all night, communicate with you all night. And the longer that my pump is on anyway, the more active they get, because it's like a video game character that you're powering up. The better power-ups you get them, the more stuff they can do. Same type of thing. It sounds crazy, but it's true. And so when I got we decided to buy a second one because I always felt like more is better. I'm a more is better type of guy. And when it showed up here, it was broken. And when I say broken, I mean like you flip the switch and nothing happened. And it was one like you have. It's probably the same guy, as a matter of fact. I guarantee it is. With the blue light on top there.
Yes, yes.
And the switch on side. So I had to open it up, and I didn't even really know much about like wiring things together, but I knew enough. And when I saw the mess that was inside this thing with the lights and the switches and the wiring everywhere, he didn't even have them taped up. He didn't have like anything, and I saw what he was using for a magnetic supply, and I said, gee, that looks like a pretty small, magnet here. So I spent like the next month obsessing over it and just reading about electromagnetic energy, about different types of magnets, and I wanted to find the best high quality supplies I could find for both the enclosure, the battery boxes. And I said, well, I found battery boxes with switches. I said, great, now I don't have to add another connection and more wiring, one, to get tangled up with the motors inside, and two, more connections, more wiring. We know that the more hoops electricity has to jump through, the more you lose. Every connection, every wire means more energy loss.
Mm-hmm.
So by providing a direct connection to the pumps, you're going to get more power that way. And then I decided that I was going to find an enclosure big enough to put two pumps in. Because I had it in my mind somehow. I don't know where I came up with the idea, but I thought if I had pumps operating opposite each other in the enclosure, spinning in different direction, that it might do something, and it actually creates like a weird like energy vortex inside of it. And then lastly, what I did was I had started doing a lot of research on crystals, and I came across a weird. Do you watch any shows on aliens at all? Like
In the past, I did. Yeah, I mean, yeah, UFOs is a fascinating topic for me as well.
So I was watching Giorgio Tsoukalos from Ancient Aliens has a show called In Search of Aliens, and he went to Loch Ness, which happens to be made up of like almost entirely quartz. And like the Bermuda Triangle, there's an extremely high Earth magnetic field there.
Mm-hmm.
And when it hits the quartz, it amplifies it to the point where they think it may be creating like a time slip or a portal,
Mm-hmm.
where the plesiosaur is coming in, people are seeing it, and it's going back out the time slip and disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
So that intrigued me, so I started to research electromagnetic energy in quartz,
Mm-hmm.
and what it does to it. And then so I decided to add it to the boxes, and since I knew for a fact that amethyst has an incredible effect on our connection with the spirit world, and I knew that quartz amplified the power of that crystal, I added that, and immediately the effects were immediate. I mean, so we went from a double pump to one with the crystals in it, and the first place we went to, the activity exploded. We had spirits saying quartz and crystals through the spirit box, through the ovulus. It was really crazy stuff. And from there, I just tweaked it a little bit here or there, and I'm always looking to improve it if I can. But for the most part, it's at like a really sweet spot in the way it works. And what it's doing is my EMF meter only goes up to like 3,000 milligauss. It pegs it at like a foot away.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure you've noticed that it's fairly localized outside of what do you think, Obaki? 5, 6, it's probably not going to affect your equipment?
No, I mean, the fascinating thing too about all of this that we're talking about here tonight is, the duality of using these types of equipment, because there's the whole thing about, spirits interacting with it. It's like a buffet for them, basically giving them all that. Like you said, here, use this, do what you want. But several things factor in. Two things actually for me. It's one of the things that I get concerned about is when, and you see this in the shows, people are using their equipment and such, and they're saying that, besides everything else, electromagnetic fields can also disrupt the way we interact with things, like, again, using that word perception. And mood swings and everything else. The human beings react to this type of situation that takes place, and so we're creating that as well. So one of the things I kind of think about, I don't know if you thought about it too, is it all spirit, or is it the fact that human beings do have an adverse reaction to electromagnetic energy? The other thing that I think about too is how much are we giving, and because when I used it at Man Camera Ghost and I turned it on, I mean, at first you get things going on with it. I mean, I thought about putting my S box, my spirit box on the damn thing, I mean not, excuse me, on the device. And I'm just reliving the moment as I say it to you, so I get kind of intense about it. And it did. There was a reaction to that, but then again, when I do spirit boxes, sometimes I have to take a pause. And when I pause, it's because something happened with the communication, and I kind of like to regroup myself. And then I started hearing like voices and stuff, and I'm like, well, I get that sometimes, but when I get that, the difference between using your device and having my other experiences, you'd hear like like a couple of words being said, right, or a word that comes out of nowhere. For me, I know it didn't come out in the video. I was hearing conversations. I mean, not directly, like when ghosts speak. Sometimes it's like there's to me, it's like they're in another room. Does that make sense? And you kind of hear what they're saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I was getting that type of experience from your device, and
It's funny that when I saw you do it, I applauded you because I put the power plants near the spirit box, so I'm going to use it because I noticed that it had a profound effect on how much better they can communicate. There's no doubt.
yes, yes, definitely. The other thing that I'm grateful for at times when with these devices is we become the buffet. I call it being zapped. I can do an investigation with. One time it was a whole group of people in Waikiki, and all of us fell to the ground. We all fell to the ground because something that just came upon us, and it started to drain our energy because they're
Well,
going
they'll
to
train the
use that.
hell out of you. They'll train the hell out of you.
Yeah, and you'll feel sick. So what I do for that, and I'll share it with you guys, bring some Powerade or Gatorade with you guys. Drink that when you get drained because it'll just bring you back up. The electrolytes and everything else that make you feel sick that's been removed can be replaced. And again, Powerade or Gatorade, if you ever listen to my show, please consider sponsoring me. But I thought I would share that with you folks. I thought I would share that with you guys. So interesting with this device. So let's talk about some of the places that you have recently visited. One of the ones that I'm really interested in hearing about is Rolling Hills. As a matter of fact, how many places have you visited that you think people would recognize?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of famous places, but we primarily stay in the area, so definitely Rolling Hills, definitely probably Lizzie Borden, maybe the USS Salem. Oh yeah, everybody knows the Conjuring house from the movie.
Wow.
Probably that's probably the least haunted place we've ever been in our life. So don't, if you ever come to this side of the country, don't ever go there.
To the
But
Conjuring house? Really?
listen, man, it's the only place I didn't, I hadn't perfected the power plant at that point. But still, it was like the least haunted place in the world. I mean, the entire history I found out on like either drive there or the day before. I found out the whole history is BS. The whole movie's BS. None of that happened, man. Bathsheba Sherman never even went to that house. She didn't live there. She didn't die there. She didn't kill a baby there. Nobody hung themselves in the barn. Andrea Perron made up like 90% of that story, and the rest of it, I'm not even sure how true it is. And it really it crushed me because we were super excited to go there. And when you find out that the history's junk, like right before you go, then you already know in your heart what's going on there. You already know that there's an issue, and the fact that I get it. The people bought the house to make money. I get it. It's a business. Like, they're certainly not going out of their way to correct it in any way. And it's a known fact. All you have to do is look it up, and it pops right up. There's several, like, newspaper and magazine articles been written about the messed up history. And I'm telling you, man, our flashlight went off a handful of times. I think the EMF detector went off once. It was all in the middle bedroom upstairs, and the rest of the place was junk. It was junk, man. It was junk. I was really disappointed.
So,
Really
what's the
disappointed.
connection with Ed and Lorraine Warren in that place? What was that made up to?
Well, the real story to begin with is the fact that Ed and Lorraine Warren in the movie, they're there like for like a month trying to help them. And I think the Prones in the movie, they go like to like find Ed and Lorraine at like a college seminar. In real life, Ed and Lorraine Warren heard about the house from a newspaper article, knocked on the door because they lived like an hour away, I think. Asked if they could help, had a seance. Supposedly the mother got thrown across the room, and then the father punched Ed Warren in the face and threw them out, and they never came back. So they were there for like 2 hours, not 2 weeks or 2 months or however the movie portrays it. So I don't know.
You know what's
At the
interesting?
Conjuring 2 there, I heard a similar story about that.
Mm-hmm.
That they just pulled up in a cab outside that house in, what the hell is the name of the town in England? Oh my God, I always know this. That's whatever. And the guy the English guy that was helping them out,
Mm-hmm.
supposedly said they jumped out of the car and said, "Oh, we're here because there's a haunting," and they were there for like a day and left. And like, I like the movies. Don't get me wrong, but it's all fiction.
So it sounds like the Amityville syndrome. What I was gonna say is, when you describe the whole thing with the seance, I think what happened was during the course of seances are always going to be dangerous. I don't care what anyone says, controlled environments and so on and so forth. You don't have human beings don't have the last say over hauntings and spiritual circumstances. But perhaps because of what was going on with the seance, something showed up and did that thing that happened, but was not connected to the place at all. So sad though. I love the movie. The movie's great. Both of the movies are great.
Awesome.
You know.
It was awesome.
Yeah, I love the movies.
When you see based on a true story right off the bat, it's very loose with what they do. But anyway, but actually one of the most recent places we went that people would know would be Rolling Hills Asylum. And let me tell you something, that place is so out of control haunted. It really was nonstop the whole time we were there. I mean, I brought several power plants. I think I might have brought like 4 or 5 power plants and was putting them around the room. And like, I was really trying to jack the place up. And the place went nuts, and we got incredible evidence from there, incredible evidence. The owner is a lunatic. It was really strange what she did and how she is. And all you have to do, I won't even get into it, just Google review Rolling Hills Asylum and then click on the filter that says negative reviews first or whatever, or like least whatever it says. You can filter the reviews, and like 1,000 reviews will pop up and let you know the type of person she is. And it's sad because I'd go back there in a second if it wasn't for that lady. But she was a weirdo, and she was nasty, and it was all about, because we happened to go there, and she wanted us to pay $500 to like film or something stupid, and whatever, I don't know. She wanted more money. But anyway, the place was extraordinarily haunted. You want to talk about feeling surrounded by spirits? I mean, the place has like 1,700 documented deaths. I think there's probably a lot more than that due to the time frame it existed in. And you just felt, I've never felt surrounded like that before. I mean, I felt surrounded before, but that place, it felt like you were walking through a crowded bar or a party, like you were bumping into people. Like, it was nuts. It was nuts. I got attacked there for the first time ever. First time ever I ever felt something like stab me or whatever, but I got stabbed in the leg in the morgue. And at first I thought my phone cord was hitting me in the leg, and then I realized that it was burning, and it felt like, if you take a safety pin and put it under a lighter for 5 minutes, it felt like somebody did that and then jammed it into my leg like 5 times.
Wow.
It was crazy. And then Marissa, I'll tell you what, my wife is one of the bravest ladies you will ever come across. Bravest people. Because let me tell you, there's not a lot of men that would do stuff she did, but I got her to hop up on the morgue table. I did it first, don't get me wrong, I did it first, but I got her to hop up there. I didn't really experience anything, But Marissa remembered that the owner had said to yell out, "Help me, I'm not dead, help me." So she yells it out, and she's laying there for about 10 seconds, and she jumps up and said, "Oh my God, somebody just checked my pulse." And I was like, "What?" She said it felt like somebody stuck 2 fingers on her neck and checked her pulse. It's actually a pretty incredible piece of video.
Yeah.
What was that like, Marissa? Tell us about that.
Oh, it was wild. Because I mean, I could definitely feel the energy in the room. I could definitely feel that there were spirits surrounding us, but I didn't think that anything was actually going to come approach me when I was laying on the table. So I could feel, like, literally, it felt exactly like 2 fingers, just as, you would touch your own pulse. I could feel like somebody putting their 2 fingers on the right side of my neck, right underneath my ear, like right underneath my earlobe there. And it was like, maybe for like 15 seconds I felt it there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just shot up until I realized, like, oh my God, what is that I'm feeling? And then I just put it all together. It was pretty awesome. It was pretty awesome. So,
Let me ask you something, Marissa. Did you feel like, could you identify um, something interesting like gender? Did you feel like it was a male presence or female or anything like that?
Could you tell the size of that thing or something?
by the size, by like the pressure, I couldn't really tell, but I felt that there was a male around me.
Ah, okay. Okay.
So,
Interesting.
I mean, I couldn't really tell but it was, maybe it was a woman. I could feel that there was a male around me, but maybe it was a woman because it wasn't like the pressure wasn't too hard, where maybe a man might put harder pressure. I don't know. It's really hard to say.
I mean, I'll tell you what was interesting about the whole morgue experience to begin with is I'm real big on what I call corroborating evidence. Like, I'm into true crime. So, like, somebody kills someone and a witness sees someone who looks like a suspect. They find a fingerprint that matches the suspect, and then his blood DNA matches. That's corroborating evidence. To me, I love it when multiple devices go off at once and we have an SLS figure or something appears on camera, and while other things are going off. Right before I got attacked, my EMF detector started spiking, and when I say spiking, I walked over and almost had a heart attack because I was seeing spikes of 177, like mid 100s, and we all know even the strongest spirit, we're talking about 5, 6, 7, maybe. I think the strongest we had seen before that was 14, 15 milligauss. But to see a constant, like, above 100 for like 5 minutes answering questions with that high spike, and then I got attacked. So there was a correlation there because whatever it was extremely, extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. And Marissa even asked, she said, "Oh, yeah, you're real close with the camera." I said, "Hey, this camera might have a 2 milligauss signature. This is buck 77, buck 72. I was yelling out the numbers as it went off. Very excited about it. Even when I got attacked, this is how, like, sick I am. I was excited about it. When it hit me, like, the 5th time, I told it to stop, but, like, I was very, very excited about the fact that I'd never got attacked before, and I wanted to feel what that was like for some strange reason. I don't know why. Even as true believers, all of us still want more proof. And to me, that was like, the cherry on my paranormal Sunday, as far as, like, that was the one thing that, besides, when I was held down in bed, I didn't feel hands, I didn't feel arms, I didn't feel a physical presence. I just couldn't move. I was paralyzed. This was something different. This felt like somebody was hitting me in the leg with a safety pin that was red hot. And to me, it was kind of interesting. But certainly one of our best locations. The lady doesn't provide you with a map, which we kind of lost some time wandering around. But even that's freaky. Every doorway you walk past, you feel like there's a person standing there, like just watching you walk by, like glaring at you. All sorts of weird stuff.
One thing I wanted to mention, and I'm kind of interested in what your opinion is. We believe because of the owner was a little, she's like a little crazy. We think that maybe the entities there may be affecting her. Do you think that's possible? Do you think that happens a lot?
We had a conversation, me and Todd, about that. I definitely think that that is a strong possibility. Or, I believe also that spirits can have an influence on a person. I mean, if they go in there for one particular thing, because your interactions that you're describing, it's like they definitely are aware of what intention is, with where they're at, very much so able to feel and know things about us. So, she could be going there with bad intentions, and they're more than willing to do things to her to either make it worse for her. I think this is a possibility that, okay, you're here for the money, you're treating people badly. Well, guess what we're going to do to you? We're going to make you such a horrible human being that eventually people are not going to want to come around. Does that make sense? That's what I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah, it
could
does.
definitely be the case with this person
And the
that we're
other
talking
thing
about.
too, but which I was thinking as you were saying that is by making her such a horrible human being and people not wanting to go there, they also get to be left alone. Because
Oh,
when you have
yes.
again like the boarding syndrome we were talking about earlier, when you have constant ghost hunting and people will go in there just for kicks, to provoke and to be an asshole and to say things that upset them. And they're human beings for Christ's sakes, most of them. I mean, and I'd be sick of hearing that all the time too.
Yeah, I think sometimes we need to take it from the other side of the fence where ghosts are concerned. Because, back in the day, what would happen? Oh, that house is haunted. People would, for the most part, not everyone, you always got thrill seekers. They would shun the place, they don't want to go near it. Nowadays, the paranormal is big money. You talk about a hotel that's haunted, what happens? People book that place a year in advance. They'll just
Oh
like,
yeah.
I need that room. I need to stay in that room. I need to experience something. So ghosts don't get left alone a lot nowadays. They can't go about the usual thing. So it's kind of hard for them too. That's what I believe.
No, it is. It's one thing because, like I said, the other flip side of that coin is that it must be a lonely existence if you were, one spirit or two spirits, and maybe you didn't even get along with the other spirit that you're stuck with for eternity, and you want to talk to someone, but when people come in and act like that, like it just because they don't see them as people. That's why. To
Yeah,
them it's
yeah,
entertainment. It's entertainment.
yeah. And I believe as much as it's changing us, I also believe that in some way it's changing them based upon our interests and how much we go after them. So that's what happens. We go after them. That whole thing about rest in peace, that's been put on hold because of the
Oh
way
yeah,
we're
yeah,
doing
me too.
things. Yeah.
And that's why I'm a big believer in calling out immediately and letting them know your actual intentions.
Hmm.
You know, I think it goes a long way with them.
Let's
Long way
talk.
with them.
Let's talk about your channel. Hold on one second. So you have a channel called Relatively Paranormal, and after this show, once I got everything uploaded, I will drop a link to your YouTube channel. Um, you guys have done a lot of different things. And today I just so happened to watch what I thought was very interesting as well with the Lizzie Borden house. Before you say anything at all, first of all, I
Yeah,
would like to know what Ghost TV is, if it's an app or whatever. Secondly, the results of that, before we talk about anything else, the Ghost TV was
yes,
incredible. The one that showed that woman's face really clear, that
yeah, yeah,
was it Abigail Borden or something? Um,
yeah,
incredible.
yeah,
Incredible.
yeah,
That demon stuff that showed up, incredible but very scary, you know?
Yes.
And
Yes.
when we look at evidence with ghosts and what we do in the paranormal, we always try to connect the dots. That's what I call it, connecting the dots. So in that particular set of circumstance, you're getting the whole thing with demon and goat man and everything else too. Then later on, as an example, you look at that footage and you can see, an evil face. It's interesting. I have done photography, and some of the things are like, even though we see it and we get excited, like this is what's in the photo. You know, we
Yeah.
see that. Doesn't mean other people see it. You know, and
No.
I'll just say that overall with anything that I watch, with any video. So, you know, some of the things I saw, some of the things that I thought I really saw or could be, but the Ghost TV was incredible. I mean, absolutely, absolutely incredible. And my hat's off also to the fact that you're at one of the most well known and recognizable haunted places, not only in America, but in the world, based upon its history. So let's talk about your experiences with the Lizzie Borden house.
So Marissa and I grew up in the area where the Lizzie Borden house is. It's literally 10 minutes from our house, and we actually used to live in Fall River, like right down the street from it. So we always wanted to go there. And it was a bit pricey, and I wasn't sure like exactly how haunted it was. But Brandon, the guy who does it with us, he was really excited about it. So we said, sure, we'll go there. What the hell? And we
Todd,
really lucked.
Todd, I mean, I didn't mean to stop you, Todd, but can you let the audience know the history of the Lizzie Borden house and what the crime is that happened?
So on August 4th, 1892, a well-to-do family in Fall River, Massachusetts, named the Borden family. The father, Andrew Borden. There's a stepmother named Abby, and two daughters named Lizzie and Emma. And they also had a living maid named Bridget. But I'll tell you something sick about that is they called her Maggie because their old maid's name was Maggie, and they didn't want to be bothered to learn the new maid's name. I kid you not.
Wow.
A lot of strange things went on in the house. The two daughters were in their 30s, and in the late 1800s, to be in your 30s and still living at home, they called you a spinster. Most people in town probably thought there was something wrong with her. Lizzie was actually a Sunday school teacher, and the father, he had a lot of different businesses, real estate. He made coffins. He had a coffin shop. And the older daughter, Lizzie, actually thought that they should be living up in the nicer area of town, but they lived kind of down like where the normal people like us live. And there was some resentment over that. And there was some real, I don't think, anytime there's step parents involved, there can be resentments there. And on that morning, Andrew was very religious about his schedule, and he went for his morning walk. And while he was gone for his hour morning walk, somebody came into the house, and while Abigail Borden, the stepmother, was making up the guest room, somebody came in and hit her 19 times in the side of the head with an axe. And then after the first blow, when she fell face down, and they stood over her body and hit her 19 times with an axe. I mean, if you think about the type of rage that goes into that act alone, like I hit somebody one time in the head with an axe, maybe twice, they're not coming back, that's it, it's over. So for somebody to have that type of rage is just, to me, that's personal. And then when Andrew came home after his walk, he asked where Abigail was, and Lizzie told him that she went to go help a sick friend. She got a note, and he went and took his nap. And while the man was sleeping, somebody came along and took an axe to his head 11 more times while he was sleeping. When I think about half an hour went by after that murder, and Lizzie supposedly came across the father's body and started screaming up to the maid, Bridget Sullivan, come quick, father's been killed. And when she came down, instead of sending her next door to where the family doctor lived, like the next house over, she sent her to get like the neighbors or something weird. Like she didn't want them to get any help, let's put it that way. And then the police came, and Lizzie gave a bunch of conflicting stories, was really cold about the whole situation. They found a hatchet in the basement they thought may have been the murder weapon. But you gotta remember back then, we're talking no fingerprints, no forensics, none of that. And there was plenty of time between both murders, because obviously the killer stayed in the house for them to clean up or whatever they had to do. But there was a few suspects. Lizzie went to trial, and she beats the case. I think mainly because back in the late 1890s, all the jurors were men. And I don't think there was a man sitting in that juror box that wanted to think about his wife or daughter killing them with an axe while he was napping. I think it was a a stereotypical thing of that time period personally. And she got away with it. And she got inherited all the money with her sister, and they moved up to the Highlands where she always wanted to live. She bought a beautiful place called Maplecroft, and
The Highlands is just down the street.
yeah, it's up on the hill type of place. And she lived out the rest of her life, changing her name from Lizzie to Lizbeth, and that was the end of it. But it was like the O.J. Simpson trial is of our time period to the 1800s. That's how big it was.
You know,
I mean,
just to, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
yeah.
I mean, sometimes when, I'm not saying that this is the case. I know I told you before the start of the program that sometimes things happen during the course of an interview. The last time this actually happened to me, we did a show about um, ghostly encountering uh, ghosts in Japan. And I remember the first time we did it, there was something that happened where there was a connection that was made somehow. And talk about it's like a zap, but instead of going backwards and having your energy drain, it just floods you. And like right now, I'm feeling like my head's a little bit like disoriented and stuff. And for some reason, I'm telling you this right now, it sounds crazy, okay? Because things happen on this show. They really do. I remember I told you also that one time I got kicked out of 3 live streams, and 3 live streams kept running on YouTube. But for some reason, I don't know why, but there's a connection with him having a coffin shop, making coffins. And it's really bizarre, and it's affecting me. It's okay. We definitely going to go through with all of this, but I just had to bring that up. Something is telling me there's a connection of some type with the work he did, or maybe with someone who he made a coffin for. Now, I don't know how strange that sounds to you, but that's the impression that I'm picking up. So I had to stop for a bit, uh, recalibrate myself, because, I mean, I don't know if you felt it at places, but sometimes you do feel, and I do warn people when we do spirit boxes, if you feel funny in your head, stop. I literally had to tell my moderators, if somebody is getting too in tune with the spirit box, or they're trying to communicate with you, if they don't want to pull away from the live stream, time them out. So it's really weird, but I had to express myself and let you guys know that. It's so bizarre. I don't know why. I don't know if it's an influence from the type of work he did or what he was doing. I don't really know, but I had to say that. So thank you for putting up with me, and I feel a little bit better. But let's go on with all of this. Let's talk about when the hauntings began. Do you know? I mean, do you know when that happened?
I'll be honest with you. I really don't, because as far as like it being privately owned, um, I don't think it was until the people who it just recently got sold a few months ago, and until the people who sold it got it, I'd never heard about it in a ghost hunting form. They owned it for I think a little over a decade or so,
Uh-huh.
and they're the ones who started doing all the ghost tours and everything. But as far as like its fame, like when we were a kid, there was a nursery rhyme that went something like Lizzie Borden had an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks when she saw what she had done, gave her father 41. Like it was that famous
I,
where 100 years later, we
mhm.
were still singing the nursery rhyme as kids around here.
There
Like,
was a movie too with Elizabeth Montgomery from Bewitched. She played Lizzie Borden in it. And for the time, it was a made for TV movie, but really, really quite disturbing. And that's where I heard that song, that weird, spooky rhyme
yeah, there
about
made
her.
another movie, then they made a Netflix series out of it too, I think, called Lizzie.
Crazy stuff. So, you guys arrived there and everything. Um, for you, when you do this work, do you ever notice that sometimes right away you're experiencing something? And if so, was that the case when you arrived there?
Well, I'll tell you what, it really, it wasn't. I'll tell you why, because most places we will, that was the last, well, let's put it this way, we won't go to places unless we can rent it out ourselves, but they wanted $2,000. Okay, so we don't have $2,000 to spend on an investigation. So we just did the bed and breakfast thing that they used to do, where you could rent a room, and they didn't care if you investigated. But we really lucked out because nobody else there investigated. A couple people came down for like maybe an hour or so, and didn't really bother us. They just wanted to watch, and we let them do that. That's fine. And we ended up investigating for like 6 hours straight with nobody bothering us. Nobody complained about the spirit box. Nothing. We went to the basement like when it started to get late around 11 o'clock and did most of it there. And we ended up doing a Ouija board session at the end at like 3 in the morning. But we really lucked out when we went there. So in the beginning, when Marissa and I got there, we're thinking that everybody's here to ghost hunt or to investigate. And then we heard, Brandon had arrived before us with his wife, and he said there's 13 people here. So we just wanted to get our equipment up and like get that living room where Andrew was murdered as quick as possible, because we hadn't rented the Abby Borden murder bedroom. It wasn't available that night, so we knew we already lost that location. So we wanted to get that main location set up so we could use it first, and we could be out of there by the time it got late, type of thing. So we weren't paying attention to the energy so much.
It's a morbid place, isn't it? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but there's weird stuff in that house.
It's bizarre, is what it
They
is.
have
It's
autopsy
bizarre.
photos and stuff, and wasn't there
I was
skulls?
eating breakfast, and there was an autopsy photo two of them next to me, next to my eggs. There's a
Ugh.
curio cabinet with the skulls in it, recreations of their busted up skulls. The dish soap has a hatchet koozie on it, it looks like the people. It looks like a red and white checkered apron they put on their dish soap. It looks like a cooking apron.
Wow.
Instead, there's got a hatchet on it. There's hatchet symbolism everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. So yeah, it's bizarre. It's really bizarre. The whole place is completely, totally, 100%, based on that murder. But they did do a great job with keeping it as original as possible. They have pictures up of the original crime scenes and stuff, and you can look at them, and they got like the identical furniture, the identical bedspreads, like everything looks as close as possible, which again can fuel paranormal activity, when they see a location look exactly as when they died.
Marissa, what was your impressions of it?
Oh, well, it was the first time I'd been inside that home. And it was amazing. Yeah, I felt like I went back to time. I was really excited that they started off doing a tour. They're giving everybody a tour. And Todd and I kind of dipped out so we can get all of our equipment ready.
That's how panicked we were that we skipped the tour to get out.
So we were like, we'll just find our way around. But I could definitely feel something there. From all the different shows that I've watched, I really wasn't sure who was there, if it was actually haunted or whether people were just saying it was, but we definitely got validation.
Can I say that when we go to a location, I don't care where it is, we'll come up with a few goals that we want to accomplish at any given place. I don't care what it is, whether it's an experiment we want to do, whether it's something we want to glean from the spirits by doing something. And our goals there really were to, one, find out if Andrew and Abby were there, and we wanted an answer as to whether or not Lizzie did it.
Right.
Because even though everyone thought she did, I've seen 100 teams go there, and all they ever try to find out is if Lizzie's there. And to me, it wouldn't make sense for her to be there. She didn't die there. She didn't live most of her life there. She grew up in a different house. She only lived there for a few years, and then she moved out right after the murders. After she got out of jail, she went and bought Maplecroft, and she died in Maplecroft using a different name. Like, why would she go back there where the possible spirits of her murder victims would be? That made no sense to me. So when people call out to her there, it just blows my mind. But I wanted, to find out if she was the actual killer, and as well as the vortex works, I thought we had a good chance. And
When we asked, who killed you, and then
You can see our reaction.
we heard Lizzie clear as day. I mean, right.
It comes up like at least 10, 20 times. Yeah.
Let me ask a question real quick here. Has there ever been in the past? I'm sure there has been. Has there ever been any theories as to who the real killer is?
There's 100 of them. There was a lot. Most people think it was her, but then there's a lot of theories as to why. Was it for the money? There's a bizarre story where the father, a couple months before the murders, Lizzie had a pigeon coop she built herself in the garage. The garage is still there, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And she had a whole flock of pigeons, like 20 pigeons. And those were like her pets. Like that's where she spent like her whole day was there. And for some reason, 2 months before the murders, Andrew Gordon went nuts. And he went into the garage and he chopped up every single one of her pigeons and made her watch as he did it with a hatchet. So to me, right then and there's a big motive. Money's one thing, there's that. But then you got to figure out, why did he do that? So there's theories as to whether or not he molested her and the sister, and it was a revenge killing. There's theories as to the uncle did business with the father, but they weren't like buddies. Like they didn't. It was on the mother's side, like her brother.
Mm-hmm.
And he visited the day before the murders. He arrived, and that's whose bedroom Abby was making up when she got killed. Was his guest bedroom. And there's theories as to whether or not he did it. John, I don't know what his last name is. Right away after the murder, the first person they arrested was a Portuguese immigrant. Because the people thought that for this to happen, it must have been like a crazed immigrant. You got to remember, this is the turn of the 18th to 19th, the 19th to the 20th century there. And there was a flood of immigration. There was a lot of anti-immigration stuff, as there is today. Back then, it was just against different people. And they arrested an immigrant at first, a Portuguese immigrant. So there was a lot of different theories. And people didn't want to believe it was a woman. They just didn't.
Can I share that? Can I share I get these things called spiritual downloads sometimes. Some of them are very much accurate. Sometimes it's just connected to something else. Do you think it is possible? I don't know if you ever thought about it, or Marissa, that it was not a human being that killed them.
Yes.
That just you thought about that? That just popped in my head just now.
We hadn't given it much thought until the investigation, because of the spirit box started coming things like, we asked Andrew why he killed the pigeons, and he freaked out. It was like, to this day, when I see the video, I laugh, because Marissa's the one who asked the question, and it changed the whole dynamic of the investigation. It's when Andrew Gordon really got nasty.
Yeah.
And he starts saying that he didn't, but Abby Bourne right over him says, yes, he did, but a ghost made him do it.
Made him do it. He's a good man, he's a good husband.
Yeah.
A ghost made him do it. So a ghost, or maybe
And
something
then-
demonic.
And then they said that a demon had killed them, and the first thing they saw after they died was not the light, it was a demon. And they also said that, we said, how did you end up here? You stuck here since your death? And they said, no, Lizzie's a witch. She brought us here. And we said, what do you mean? She conjured you back here? And they basically said that. So our running theory now is that even though she was a Sunday school teacher, somehow she dabbled in some sort of witchcraft, maybe didn't know what she was doing, brought something negative into the house in a conjuring ceremony, became possessed. The father became partially possessed, and whatever was influencing her caused the murder. Yeah, because that's a lot of overkill. A lot of overkill. If you think about it, just think of it swinging an axe 19 times. That's a lot of overkill, and then doing it 11 more times. That's a lot. That is a lot.
Do you think it's possible, though, it wasn't even done by human hands?
Oh, you mean do I think that can happen?
Yes. That's what I'm asking, because
A real angel demon, yeah, but in this case, I don't think so. I think she if anything, she was possessed.
okay. I don't know. I just sometimes think that, is that even possible? Can that
There
type
are
of thing?
some
Because if a
projects
spirit
that-
can scratch you, you know what I'm saying? If they can actually interact with you and do things like at the Sally House case and everything else, um, how much farther can they go with what they do? I'm just wondering about this. And the really weird thing is that I just think that things have happened in the paranormal that we just haven't even discovered yet. I'm not saying that that happened, but I like to put, like, when I talk about this stuff, I like everything on the table, every
Can I
single
tell you
thing.
something really freaky that Marissa and I's both jaw just hit the ground?
Yeah.
Okay. At Rolling Hills, we've been getting, before Rolling Hills for a while, and I talked to you about this earlier, we've been getting the name Beelzebub a lot.
And that's a
Okay, and for
no-no.
those who don't know, if he's like Satan's right hand man. He actually even tried to take over hell at one point. He's so powerful. He was like next to Lucifer in heaven. He was like Lucifer's like next powerful like angel at the time. Very powerful, nasty demonic entity. And at Rolling Hills, we started to put this together because it came up repeatedly there that there was 5 demons from the Sally house at Rolling Hills. But we weren't hearing it from the spirit box. I heard this upon review. But what we did hear is in this one room that was extremely active with this like 10-foot tall demonic entity on the SLS camera climbed the wall and then onto the ceiling and was right above me as the spirits were screaming. It was a demon. It's a demon. Mm-hmm. And it did some really freaky stuff. And it actually sat on the power plant after it did that. And I asked why, and it said because it's trying to energize itself. It's really weird stuff. And at the end of if we switch locations if we switch rooms at a place, or if we end a investigation, we notice this every time. We'll shut off the vortex spirit box. We'll start shutting off different things they communicate with, like the EMF meter, the flashlight, etc. And the only thing we hadn't shut off was the Ovilus at this point. And I said to Marissa, because the thing had done so many freaky things on the SLS, I said, did you see what that thing just did? It had flipped sideways in this weird alcove in this room, like where this chair was. And I had the power plant on the chair, and after it got up the ceiling, it sat on the power plant. You could see it sitting on it on the chair. And it jumped off and it went sideways in this alcove, like as if it had its hands on one side of the alcove and its feet on the other. And it flips like upside down and then jumps off the thing, and like they're screaming at us that it was going to attack us, and then it disappears and it's gone. So like I was so excited because I just saw the strangest SLS thing I'd ever seen. And I said, did you see that? And Marissa said, yeah, of course I did. And she said it was kind of frightening, and we have a rule that we don't get frightened much on investigations, we get startled. So we never call it frightening, because once they know that you're afraid, they will latch onto you like an ant to like a candy bar on the ground. Like they will latch onto you. So we avoid it at all costs. And I said, listen, I looked right up at her in the video. I said, listen, don't say that. Just say you were startled or whatever. I thought it was pretty cool at the time. And we didn't know the Ovilus was still on. And out of the Ovilus comes 2 words. It said Sally House. Like clear as day. And our opinion is that whatever was there was in our minds enough to know that we knew what that was. And that because I just said, don't say you're afraid, we're not afraid, it wanted to say something that it thought would cause us to be afraid. Because if you know enough about that haunting, it was horrific.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And we stop in our tracks. Like you could hear like tires squealing, like in our minds, like, argh!
Oh yeah.
Those 2 words
mean nothing.
mean absolutely nothing, right? But because we know about the Sally House, that's really like almost like they were in those times.
The odd thing is that it had come out of the vortex 5 or 6 times, 5 demons from the Sally House. And then yet, as I was finishing up the Borden video a couple days ago, it kept saying 10 spirits, 5 demons, 10 spirits. So now I started thinking about today, well, are those the same 5 demons?
Right.
5 demons from the Sally House, 5 demons there. And now you just brought up the Sally House out of left field, just like you were talking about before. Sometimes these things take weird turns. It was just weird. It's weird.
I call it synchronicity. Hold on one second. Hi, Aristocat. Kuhal, if you're watching right now, please do a pulley. Please do a strong prayer. Intentions in the prayer to ward off any kind of demonic uh, um, interference or any type of interaction. Hello, Neil. Thank you for being here, my friend. Aristocat, good to see you. Koniko Kid says Christina Ricci played Lizzie on the Netflix series. Aloha says, crazy that your spiritual download correlates to their findings. Kelsey says, hello. And Kuhal says he'll do a prayer right now. Thank you, because sometimes things do happen on this show. And
Hey, I mentioned to you earlier, we do a live paranormal show every Friday at 6 p.m. on a Facebook channel called New Bedford Guide. But all the episodes are on our YouTube channel as well.
awesome.
And what it is that we play quick, like 5-minute clips of some of our best evidence at a recent investigation. And then Marissa and I will analyze it in our opinion. And then we take comments from any viewers that will message into our producer at New Bedford Guide, and then he relays it to us on the screen, and then we'll answer the questions, kind of like what you're doing now, but on a TV screen.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of days ago when we were doing the episode about Rolling Hills, we heard two very, very nasty demonic growls in our microphone as EVPs. We did not hear them live. We were watching the episode after to see how it came out, and they were clear as day, very scary. And so now all this is just like it's coming together in my head, and I'm just trying to process it. But it can be scary stuff. Like I certainly don't want to mess with that if it's that particular demon. That's not something you want to hear. I really the only thing worse would be if it's a Lucifer himself. But that's a nasty, nasty guy. So
Well,
it's really strange. Sally House
in Hawaii, we have this very strong belief that when you talk about spirits, that they will actually react and come towards the person that's talking about them. That's why when we do storytelling, we have to be very careful with the details that we share, because there could be some kind of interaction with that. So, I also feel sometimes I feel very nervous when mentioning the names of these. There's like the nine princes of hell.
I think of a way to relay the story.
No,
Otherwise,
no, no, no. That's fine. No, that's fine. That's fine. I actually at times thinks it has to be done, because again we're constantly learning. It's just like when I go to places, sometimes someone will tell me, oh, you can't. I mean, I won't say cross the line or anything like that at all, but sometimes you just kind of need to say what's going on and have an idea of what's happening when you talk or interact with things. There are times that people don't want to continue to do. I'm sure you've done this with your investigations. They don't want to go any further than what you've done already. But sometimes, call me a dummy, because I will go all out, and I need to kind of like rein myself in, because that could be nothing but trouble, if that makes any sense at all. Nothing but trouble by going that far into what I'm doing. That's why when I do all the solo stuff, people think I'm crazy. Yeah.
That's what I have Marissa for, because I am the dummy who will call out, just provoke it and do things when I have to. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if you show too much fear and you back down too much, that like even any person, even though they're not people, but then they know that they can mess with you. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm attaching the wrong mindset to it. I try not to challenge too much, but
Mm-hmm.
I try not to back down either. I kind of have a grudge, because I believe it was a demon that held me down all those times, and I'm not too happy about it. And
Well, that's what I was going to ask Marissa, then you. Marissa, if you're still there, what I wanted to ask you is, with all the investigations that you folks have done, have you ever experienced that something happened to you because of that? I mean, I get this type of weird, bizarro world type of feeling. Like I'll go out and I'll go someplace extremely dark, there's a whole lot of stuff happening. I got to multitask my way out of the situation. But when I go home, it's like, oh my God, I am in like awe. I'm in a well lit room. You know, I can watch TV. Everything's okay. But you get that feeling like something is just not right. You know, you've gone back to your comfort zone, but there's something there as well. Doesn't necessarily have to be something following you home. It could be just something that affected you. Have any of you been affected? I'll ask Marissa first. Been affected by a place that you visited? Really, really affected.
Um, I feel, to be honest with you, because Todd just stepped out, I feel not not that it's really me that's been affected, but sometimes I feel that he's being affected. Um, Sometimes it almost seems like he may have multiple personalities. And that's not how he's been. That's not who I know. But like like actually, it was ever since we really started like investigating the more quote unquote popular places that a lot of people go to. Did it really start? But sometimes he'll like his manner will just get really aggressive, or he'll just get really snappy, and I don't know where it comes from. So to answer your question, yes, sometimes it does feel like something has followed the two of us back. Maybe me, maybe him, maybe it's taking it out on me. I don't really know. But yeah. Um, yeah, and it takes, whenever we do an investigation, no matter where it is, I will be, no word of a lie, like I'm out for like 3 days. For the next 3 days, you will not hear a word out of me. I feel like I don't want to speak with anybody. I don't want to answer my phone. I feel out of it. Like I'm all out of it, Like it takes me that much time to get myself back together. It's weird.
I totally understand. And I think these type of conversations with you and Todd, by the way, fascinating stuff you folks have shared so far. I feel that you just got to bring the lens of truth. I mean, not that none of it isn't true, but like the lens of truth in as far as how we feel doing an investigation and afterwards as well. And I think that's very important, and also how you process it. So for you, Marissa, then I'll ask Todd the same question. How do you process getting yourself back to a better place when you feel like these things are happening to you?
Um, I just need to concentrate on what's important to me. My daughter, my life, my sanity. It's very difficult to do, and that's what tells me that all of this stuff is so real. Like that's what's so scary. It's because I never believed it when I was younger because like my family didn't want us to be scared.
Right.
Maybe they didn't know, but now that I can actually feel the things that I can see through my night vision camera, the things that are setting all these detectors off. I can finally, feel it. That's what tells me that this stuff is real. Like it is actually, but it is. It's. I really don't know. I really don't know how to explain it, but it's scary. It does take a long time to do, and I just need to concentrate on what's most important in my life, the things that are right in front of me at the very moment, and the things that I'm responsible for, like taking care of my child, and my health,
Oh,
and her health.
bless you and your family. Absolutely. Um, I also think too, and I'll ask Todd the same question is, you're going to these locations and you're experiencing these things, yet you have to come home to a place that's haunted as well. Correct?
Right,
So
right.
yeah. So I just.
I feel more comfortable because uh, I know the spirit. Well, I know one of the spirits that's in our home. Because I know so much about her now, I feel more like on a comfortable level. Like I almost like she's my sister. Like she's a friend of mine. Um, the few things that she does tell me makes me nervous. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like, but I feel like as long as she's here, we will always know what we're up against. Of course, Todd and I will always make our trips down to the church and make sure we have our holy water. We have all of our items blessed. I don't know how far that will actually take you, to be honest with you, with some of these more dangerous things. But I can all I can do is really just count on religion and hope the best.
Well,
Yeah.
that's like,
We've never had anything right. Right.
Okay.
But when you have some strange, like a conflict, like there'll be some strange conflicts. Like
I saw one thing go across the hall.
you know,
I just stepped away to go grab a drink, and I'm coming back. I just saw the strange white mist ball flow across the hall.
Todd, I was going to ask you the same question. So, do you feel affected? I mean, your wife did a great job of describing what she goes through. What do you feel at times? What was one of the most intense, let's use the word after effect, or anything else that you've gone through, including being in an investigation? What's the most intense thing you went through?
Get so late during an investigation that I won't feel till after, but I feel wiped out for days after.
Mm-hmm.
For days after. And I don't know if that's just from me getting so amped up, or I think it's a little bit of both, but certainly I feel unnaturally drained after for up to a week before I felt that. And, it definitely feels like, that something drew something off of you. Even with the power plants, I think just some of these human spirits are so used to draining off of people and draining off of our cameras that, you have to keep reminding them to use the power plant. And then I think some of these other things just don't care. They'll just take everything.
Yeah, I agree.
Strange as that sounds.
and also a stage. We've got a cabinet filled with stage, and we stage more often than we probably need to, but better safe than sorry.
I'm big on staging prayer, sealing doorways with holy water. When I want to keep them out of here, I do what I have to do, because sometimes it just gets oppressive and heavy, and you have to do it. I don't know how much of it's Angie and how much of it is this other guy, Terry, whatever he is. But I've done enough research to know that even the most well-intended human spirit will draw energy from you, especially if they feel a connection. And I believe that since Angie and Marissa are around the same age, they're both moms, there's certainly more of a connection with her than me. And I believe that, she will drain from her. And sometimes I can believe she impresses that emotion, that hopelessness, that misery that they feel sometimes when they're stuck here. I believe sometimes even that gets impressed upon her, for us.
Yeah, the next hard to but it was me or in the perfect. I'm pretty sure I felt that was her, but I still feel okay with it for some reason.
Either way, I luck out, but post investigation, yeah, I feel great.
I absolutely agree with you on that. Kuhal, do me one more favor. I feel spirits around right now. It's like a circle around the entire conversation and everything. Please say another prayer. I'm also going to ask my moderators who I've told about doing this and ask them to help with. Moderators, anyone watching the show, let's do some shielding right now. You know what that's all about? Close your eyes. I want you to envision from the bottom of your feet going all the way up in your body, nothing but very intense, white, pure, loving light. Let it travel all the way up your body and go up to your head. Create a connection with a light that goes up into heaven, and let that help in anything that might be going on with these circumstances tonight. Expand that light, create a barrier around everyone for Todd and Marissa and everybody. Make that light very bright. Put in any loving, powerful memories or anything that is the opposite of anything that's out there that tries to harm us. Put that into that light right now. And Todd and Marissa, if you like, you can do that as well. And then let's maintain that for about 20 seconds while I'm talking. Again, put anything loving and important. Envision angels, envision people you love that have passed away. Ask for assistance and build that light within yourself and build that wall around us. Make it stronger and brighter. that it's so bright that even though it's night, it looks like it's daytime. Make it really, really bright, everybody. Okay? Because I know I'm feeling stuff. And when I feel it, I have to acknowledge it. So let's just breathe in that light as well. And that light is so powerful that anything that's dark within us will immediately flee from us and send that light after that darkness and chase it out of here. So keep that going. Keep that going. Let a peaceful memory come into your mind. Could be the ocean or anything else. Let that come to you. Maintain it. Good. Thank you. Because I feel better. Mahalo, guys, for doing that, okay? Really appreciate it. You know I do that. I love you guys. And this is what it's all about. Not only the experience, but helping people. Even us need help sometimes. You know, we're all vulnerable to spirits. Thank you, Todd and Marissa, for letting me do that because
I feel better. I feel better personally.
You do?
I do, yeah. I'm kind of like it, yeah, I do.
Yeah, it's called shielding. I read about it years ago. And I would implement it. Sometimes you got to do it on an investigation. You know, take a moment and just put some light in you. Just let it go into you and stuff like that. And then, you know, I think that it plays a part in making us better. Kuhal, thank you for the prayer. You know, I appreciate all of that stuff. So, what I was going to ask you as well, getting back to the Lizzie Borden investigation and how it affected you. What do you think for yourself? I watched the video, it's incredible. What was it for you and Marissa? Maybe you both have different opinions. What was the highlight of that, you think, that really made you think something was happening right in front of your eyes? I know there's so many things to look at, but what do you think was a highlight?
I'll tell you, actually, there's something that's not in the video that was a strange occurrence, and the only reason why I didn't document it is because I was just so tired when it happened. But I had spoken to you earlier about how Andrew Borden had kind of pushed my buttons. He called my wife the B word a few times.
Yes.
He was saying nasty stuff right from the beginning, even when I tried to like calm him down and explain, like, listen, I understand that people come here and do this and they don't have the best intentions, but we just really want to get your true story out because this is what people think about what happened, and it's your chance to set the record straight. And he was just pissed off and nasty from the beginning. But anyway, I told him, like, at one point he said something like he was gonna kill me or something crazy.
Whoa! Wow. Okay.
I think he did. Like, it might not even be in the video, but I told him, I said, well, you know what? I said, you'll have your chance tonight because I'm gonna go upstairs and sleep in your bed. Like, that was my response. Just being a smart ass, you know. And he came back with, well, I'm gonna go up there and make you miserable and keep you up all night. And it's kind of funny because at the end of the night, Marissa and I went upstairs and we didn't have his bedroom. We were in the upstairs bedroom. I think it was Bridget Sullivan's bedroom. And we laid down in bed, and I kid you not, as soon as the light went off, we didn't hear the door open up, but we heard somebody walk into the room as if there was no door and start pacing from one side of our bed to the other. Now, usually I'm pretty hardcore about investigating, so is Marissa. But we were just so beat, I was like, you know what, I don't even care. And we listened to this till we fell asleep, probably 5-10 minutes later. Andrew Borden's, problem is that he doesn't know that I can sleep through a hurricane, and I snore, so Marissa slept next to me for years, so she can sleep through anything too. And we just passed out on him. I didn't grab my cell phone, I didn't document it. You take my word for it or not, I've got better things to do than to make up stories. But he paced around the bed, legit, like from my side of the bed to my side of the bed, back and forth. You could hear, it's a carpet, but you could hear footsteps. It was dead quiet from one side of the bed to the other. And I just have to assume it was him because he said he was going to do it. He wanted us to know, like, so he was stomping, like, from one side of the bed to the other. It was probably one of the craziest things I've ever experienced. But in hindsight, I'm glad that I had the experience, and he didn't keep me awake like he wanted to. But it was just interesting that he said he was going to do it, and he didn't.
Wow.
to me. So I don't know. Tell me your profound moment at the house.
Oh, really, it was when we heard the word Lizzie come out of the vortex. That was it blew me away. It blew me away because
Incredible.
you know I didn't know what to expect from that house. I didn't know if everyone was just making up their stories, but I mean, how the heck did the word Lizzie come out of the vortex?
No, it comes out many times.
I know. I'm just saying, you know, that didn't come out of nowhere.
The first moment was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. When you first heard it,
And
like,
the photos. The photos, I absolutely love taking my photos. I'm like,
oh yeah,
I love my photos. So when I was able to capture that photo of where I think with Abby, I was psyched.
well, the thing too is we have a rule with photos because I'm very scrutinizing with photos because you do get a lot of pareidolia. You do get a lot of stuff like that. And, you know, our minds try to make pictures out of everything. So we have a rule. You have to take at least 3, 4, 5 photos. The more the better as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you rapid fire the photos within those frames of pictures, if it's paranormal, it will change shape, it will move, it will disappear. They're very fast in whatever they do. They're in, they're out, you know, they're bouncing between our realm and theirs. And the one photo that I do find impressive is the one of Andrew Gordon looking like Freddy Krueger with the blood on the side of his head because he's gone in the next picture and he's not in the picture before. And yes, it is a subjective thing as far as was that him? Is that an axe in the picture? And is the other person that looks like her brains are coming out the side of her head, Abby Gordon? That's very subjective stuff. And the way we put it on Relatively Paranormal, on Wickedly Haunted, our thing is this. We capture the evidence, we give you our opinion, but it's up to you as the viewer or the person watching to decide what you think. We don't try to force our opinion on anyone's throat. We just give you our analysis based upon our experience and research. This is what we think it is. And that's what I try to put in the video. You know, but it's up to anybody else to make their own opinion. But the picture of the thing coming through the portal after all the goat man talk, and it looks like a goat with a hook, and that weird portal looking thing that we keep catching at different locations, that was a little messed up. That's almost a little scary. Like, it's crazy. It's a weird picture. It's definitely a strange picture.
Let me ask you something.
You know.
How many times have you guys used the Ouija board?
That is the second time, and it's the first time it ever worked.
Mm-hmm.
Did I tell you what I did with it? I stuck a power plant underneath the coffee table, and it was
Yes, I saw that. Hold on one second. Kelsey is saying, how does one share a paranormal experience with forcing on people? Give a little bit more, clarify that a little bit more, Kelsey, during the course of the conversation. And then I'll ask Todd and Marissa their opinion about your question. Yeah, we're reaching that point in in this interview. If you folks want to pop in questions here and there, we can send it to Todd and Marissa. You guys already have an idea of a lot of stuff that I feel happens. Like one of the greatest things that always sticks in my head is, and that's why I ask my guests so many questions. Are the stories that we hear, that's it to it? Everything that we hear, or is there more to it? As an example, the places I go to, even though we're limited here, is there a ghost story within a ghost story? Is there something else that's taking place? And then when you see videos like with Relatively Paranormal, you know, it just opens your eyes a little bit more to keeping everything honest when it comes to hauntings. Because I know everybody loves a good ghost story. Everybody wants it to be about, you know, human spirits and such, and some even want demons. But in all of this stuff, there's one rule that surpasses everything with the paranormal, at least in me, and that is be careful what you wish for. Be very careful about that. Kelsey saying, sorry, let me rephrase that. How does one share paranormal experiences with the masses without forcing it on people? Well, that's a very good question. Todd and Marissa, with you giving your messages to people, um, how do you go about doing it without feeling like you're forcing your opinions on other people?
Well, It's certainly easier on the live TV show because we constantly tell people, hey, listen, we're just giving you our opinion. It's up to you to make up your own mind.
Yes.
But you have to give your analysis of it so people at least understand what you think you're looking at anyway. And that's why I really like the stuff that I call no doubters. Like, oh, damn, that's absolutely paranormal. It's a no doubt, my mind. Like, you see it right away. Like, I don't like to have to squint and look at a picture and blow it up to see something in a wall or something, or a video or whatever. Not. But what I also try to do with my videos, because I have this firm belief that people watch paranormal videos or paranormal TV shows for they watch it for the same reason, but there's two types of people. There's the true believers who just love seeing the evidence and they just want more proof. And then there's your skeptics who want a reason to believe and want to see something profound. So I try to do my shows differently, the videos differently, where I just try to put in as much activity and evidence as I can and leave out as much BS of us chit-chatting and goofing around and all the other stuff that occurs in the 6, 7, 8 hours we're there. Because I think people want to see the evidence. And our live show, we've tried to do different things and people just want to see the evidence. They'll start commenting like, oh, bring on the videos, because that's what they want to see. So since developing the power plant, I kid you not, I get so much evidence that, and I'm not trying to say this in a negative way, there are things that I see shown on like Ghost Adventures that I throw out because I'm not even like that impressed with it. And because like I want to show like the best stuff, like like orbs. I won't show an orb in a picture. I will show it in a video. If it's flashing perfectly circular and looks like it's self-lit and intelligently moving. Like, I have certain rules to what's actually an orb. Because dust does show up a lot.
I agree.
So if it's flashing and it's self-lit and it's intelligently zipping around the screen, or I love it when they stop in midair, like as if they're like looking at you and then they rocket off. Like, dust doesn't do that. Dust floats aimlessly towards the lens. It falls away, and it's usually in a group. It's never by itself. Like, you don't see a softball-sized piece of dust flashing across the screen at 100 miles an hour. It just doesn't happen. And again, we've asked Angie if that's how they travel, and she said yes. She said, yes, we travel in that form, yes. I even did an experiment in my house. There's a video on Relatively Paranormal where I stand in the middle of the room and I call out shots. I say, okay, can you fly over my head now? And Marissa's in the background, like, talking excitedly, like, it just went over your head. It just went over your arm. Like, I said, go over my left arm. And she did it all for us on camera, just because we tell her we're trying to prove that you exist so that we can get you help. In a way, that's one of our goals, is to make this like more acceptable so that people dealing with hauntings can get help, and so these trapped spirits can get help. And if people don't think they exist, how can you do that?
Let me ask you something. I'm sorry, go ahead, finish what you're saying. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying there still is a stigma to it with a lot of people.
That's it. Well.
But go ahead, what were you going to say?
What I was going to ask you is, do you reach a point, because I know I have, in an investigation and such, when the activity is going on, especially when you got demonics in the picture and such, have you ever felt a point where, I'll give you an example. Sometimes I go out somewhere and, we come with our equipment and everything, and we're pulling up to the location, and you just get vibes. I mean, serious vibes. Like, and when those things hit you and they hit you hard, I tell people, nope, not tonight, not here, not tonight, and we just leave. So have you ever felt doing an investigation or going somewhere like, nah, I'm going to throw in the towel early because I know if I go, I mean, again, I talk about that, line that you shouldn't cross. You ever felt that, like, I can't go any further with this, or with this investigation, or, even for me sometimes, I mean, I'll work all the way, well, not all the way, but I'll work through my calendar year, and Halloween's a big time for me. It's a very big time. whether I'm doing something big with the public or personal things. But at some point, after Halloween, I gotta take me a damn break. I gotta live my Corona, not virus, but my Corona beer commercial. I gotta stick my toes in the sand. I gotta smile at the sky or something. Do you ever feel like you reached that point, like, man, no more tonight? Or, I mean, really, have you gone to an investigation and said, this ain't happening? Because I think sometimes we're supposed to, and there are times when we should pull back. What's your opinion on
Uh,
that?
I'll give
So,
you my honest,
yeah,
my honest, well, just my honest experience.
yeah.
Um, no, I get way, way, way too hyped up to go to do it. Um, to be there to the point where like I can have not so much about, yeah, I can have a temper sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. Like especially let's say I'm out in public and somebody said something to my wife, one time a guy said something inappropriate to Marissa. I almost unscrewed his head and rolled it down the sidewalk. But at Rolling Hills, the lady kicked open the door to a room we were in and started screaming at us because we had put up a Facebook video while we were waiting to go in about how excited we were. And she started screaming at us that if we didn't take it down, she was going to throw us out, keep our money, because we didn't have permission to film the outside of the building. Now, we were filming inside with several cameras. We had paid to go. She knew we were there because she came out and asked what we were doing there in a nasty tone while we were waiting. And we told her. And Marissa was the one who I thought was going to unscrew the woman's head and roll it down the hallway because she was so out of line and so nasty and so out of control. Like, who does that? And I was so excited to be there and to catch paranormal evidence that I was the voice of reason for once and just told her to calm down. She was the type of woman that you weren't going to have a discussion. If you said anything, she just cut you off and said, then I'll throw you out and keep your money. That's all she kept saying. We'd only been there like an hour. So that's, yeah, maybe it's to a point of it's a fault, but I get so hyped up about it. But as far as like needing a respite because we've investigated too much over time, yeah, we haven't investigated in a few weeks now because we did like 7 or 8 investigations between like July 29th and, I'm sorry, June 29th and I think July like 25th or something. We did like 7 investigations. Our daughter was away with her grandparents for 2 weeks, so we just took the opportunity and went nuts for 2 weeks. And then we did a couple more investigations after that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we haven't done anything since because it was time to take a break.
Well, no, we don't need to break that. We have to watch all the evidence.
Well, yeah, but he's talking about going. He's talking about going.
And watch all of that still at the back there. Like, now we're watching it. All right, he can't put that. We're standing next to it. So I feel like we need to take a break from all.
Yeah, you really can't when you do a TV show. And then I hardly have time to do. I haven't had a lot of time. Lizzie Borden was the first Relatively Paranormal video I put up in a while because the live show consumes so much of my time.
That's
Because
a
I
lot.
have to create those videos for the live show that I use in Relatively Paranormal. I just add more to Relatively Paranormal, like double the amount of stuff that I didn't show in Wickedly Haunted.
After I saw that video, it's like you guys should go to the Bahamas and sing the Pina Colada song. Hold on a second. I got a question coming in. Can people encounter ghosts of toxic people? I'm curious. Definitely. I think, again, looking at the Lizzie Borden place and even a lot of other locations, you're going to run into the ghosts of toxic people. I think um, there's a very strong possibility when we look at the whole earthbound theory with spirits that what we're dealing with a lot of times is spirits that are very strong emotions with things that have happened to them. One of the greatest things that people say, well, one of the most prominent things that people say is unfinished business. That's why they're there. And the Lizzie Borden video, as a matter of fact, really puts that forward into the limelight. There's a lot of unfinished business that's going on. I think what bothers me more is, yeah, they're toxic, but are they that mad? I mean, especially in today's world with what we've been talking about with Todd and Marissa, and it's true that a lot of people go to these locations. Are these spirits getting angry? Are they going to strike out in some way, shape, or form eventually? And I always call it, the polite way of saying it is being zapped. Being zapped does not only include having your energy taken away from you. Being zapped also includes the possibility that your life can be taken away from you. Are we thinking in the right perimeters, or are we again putting everything on the table? Are we looking at the biggest picture possible? Because I believe that the picture is even bigger than that. I was once asked after doing a ghost tour or being a part of one, what do you think is going on here in Hawaii? Because the spirits here are crazy. I said, it's not a fact of being crazy. Whether or not you are involved in the paranormal, you are in a classroom. We just don't know who's teaching, or even if they're trying to teach us. We just don't know who's the teachers. Hold on a second. And the ghosts of toxic people, are they toxic in the afterlife? And Lizzie Borden, yeah. What do you think? They are toxic, right, in the afterlife?
Yeah, if you well, let's leave out the fact of why it happened, and let's just say they were innocent people. You know, if you were laying on a couch and somebody took your life in your sleep with a hatchet and then continued to chop your body up, or you're standing there making a bed and somebody did that, yeah, you'd be pissed off, I'm sure. And then, 100 years later, somebody bought that residence where you were trapped and you're already miserable, you're already hopeless, and strangers start coming in every day and asking you nasty things or making you relive your death. Yeah, you could absolutely. Andrew Borden absolutely is toxic. Abby is, and Abby just wants to be done with it. She's just done with it. Andrew Borden is just, he's mad. He's mad. And I don't know whether he has a right to be or not. No. He's a
Aloha,
clown.
thank you. Aloha said, if you'd like to see more from Abaki's amazing guests after this stream, please check them out here. And she gave your YouTube channel link.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. We appreciate any support we can get. We actually just did a documentary for. We got messaged out of nowhere by a large media company in the United Kingdom called was it Bancroft Media? They have a big YouTube presence. They have a show called My Truly Extraordinary Family, My Extraordinary Family, and we had been the feature of a newspaper article because we're a ghost hunting family. Our daughter's very educated on the paranormal, even though she's 8 years old, but we don't lie to her. Her parents are paranormal investigators. We do a TV show. I mean, you can't lie to her. So we've told her the truth since day one, and she's very educated on it. And somehow they saw the newspaper article in the United Kingdom and asked us to do the show for them. So they came here last month and did that. That should be out soon. But just really crazy how they even found us. I don't even know. But it was a pretty cool experience. It was a pretty cool experience.
Congratulations on that. That's incredible. And you guys deserve it. I've seen, some of your videos, and I would encourage those that watch to hop on over to Relatively Paranormal and see things that are beyond relatively paranormal.
Yeah. It's a play on words. It's a play on words. Yeah.
Let's see. I got a question coming in from one of my mods. Question: when you contacted the ghost, Angie's family and told explain what was happening in your house, what was their reaction? Okay, to Angie's family.
Yeah, what was Melissa's reaction?
Yeah, with Angie's family, what was their reaction to it when you?
Oh, well, she was nervous about it, and she wasn't really sure if we were joking around with her or not. So I just told her, listen, no, we lived in the same exact location, that your sister lived at. I'm not joking, I want you to come over. I'd love to meet you. I couldn't be more honest about this. Just give me a chance, and I had to basically sell myself to her. I had to just convince her that, yeah, I was being honest with her and that I really wanted her to hear what we've experienced, and I really wanted her to hear Angie's voice, and I really wanted Angie to be able to see her again. And when they came over, and when they finally came over and saw, like, at first, I still think that they did.
No, they were extremely skeptical at first.
Yeah.
The video's called We Tried to Send Angie to the Light. It's on the Relatively Paranormal channel. And you can see the family's reaction from minute one till at the end when they were standing in front of the spirit box, like it was a human being standing there crying together.
Angie started mentioning her children's names and asking about her nieces and nephews. That's when they were like, oh my God, this is really her, you know?
Like cousins, like obscure names, like not just...
Yeah.
And at the end, they were up at the spirit box like it's a human... Well, Angie is a human being, but I'm saying they were talking to the spirit box as if she was standing there with them, like almost as if they could see her. And they were crying, and there was wailing coming out of the spirit box and crying there. It was really a very powerful experience. One of the most powerful paranormal experiences I've ever experienced.
Yeah, I was so happy to be able to do that for Angie and for her sisters. And I still talked. I still talk to her sisters, you know, through Facebook. So
it took her some months to find them, and she stuck with it. Like kept trying to like reach out. And I told her to be careful because, you know, they could still be very raw, even though it was 8 years ago or whatever. Like, you know, you gotta be careful because people think that it's a cruel joke at first. I'm sure. You know, if you gotta think about it from your own perspective. If you had a
Are you there?
person there here and they want to talk to you, you would think, is this a joke? Is this a scam? What is this? And you know, it wasn't until they were here for half an hour, 45 minutes that all that came down. You know, and at the end they were very appreciative, and we both felt really good about the whole situation. One of those moments where we can do this and bring
closure, sort of.
Bring some sort of peace to someone, just like with we do a lot of house cases, and anytime that we call the person down the road and they're still not experiencing a lot, or we had a family that we helped that they didn't want us to cleanse the house, but we spoke to them a few days later and they said, for the first time since we bought this house 2 years ago, we feel like we own it.
There you
know,
go.
meaning that they felt like they're in their own house for 2 years. And once they were educated on what was there and who these people were and whatnot, they felt like they owned the house for the first time ever. That made us feel good.
That is very rewarding when you do this type of stuff. What I was going to ask you is, it's interesting how I know what you guys were trying to accomplish is bringing about a sense of closure for Angie. So my question to you is, have you followed up with that meeting with the family with Angie and asking her what she feels, and why do you think she hasn't crossed over yet, in your opinion? Marissa, can you give me your opinion, and then Todd, yours as well?
Yeah, I know that the reason that we brought her sisters there, and the reason I think that she hasn't been able to cross over is because I do believe that she wants to see her children. She wants to see her son, she wants to see her daughter, and her sisters are against bringing them here. Because even though they're older now, they just don't think it's right. And they're a really religious family, but some of their family members, they just do not believe in this stuff, and they won't even mention it to the other family members. And I completely respect that, you know?
Can I interject for a second?
Yeah.
Okay, now they can't be there physically, but can you do like a Zoom or a Skype showing Angie her children and then getting her response from that after? Is that possible to arrange, do you think?
I mean, my opinion on this from my dad's perspective is that her kids were like very young when this happened. The boy's like 16 now, and he was very young at the time. And they didn't, you know, when you're that young, like, you know, I don't know how much they even remember of their mom, and to touch off something like this may not be the healthiest thing for them.
That's also very
even
true.
If it's the healthiest thing for her. And from my perspective, since minute one with Marissa, I was against contacting the kids. I was all for the sisters or the mother or cousins or anyone like that, but the kids, I just thought, like, they're so young, they've moved past this. They're both good kids. The daughter was going to college. The son plays football. He gets good grades, I guess. Like, they're not like troubled kids. So why possibly bring something that could activate something that could cause a problem?
Okay, let me ask something real quick. So, are the children aware about the haunting with Angie?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay, maybe it's better to keep that out of the picture then.
Yeah. I would hate to tell them the reason that she died. And that's my biggest thing, because they probably, I'm sure that the family, Sonny, stop. I'm sure that the family, maybe made up some story, but the reason she died was an overdose of heroin. And I'm sure that the kids don't want to think of their mother of having, as having that problem.
Did you ask Angie if she thinks of herself as a bad mother and that could be keeping her here as well?
I don't think that she looks at herself as a bad mother.
Okay.
Oh, but no, she said she has no regrets. That's what she said to us. No, she has no regrets. I don't believe that she looked at herself as a bad mother. I think she looked at herself as being a good mother for staying here. So, yeah.
That's interesting. Thank you for saying that. Aloha said, have they ever showed Angie her kids pictures on social media, Facebook, for example? Maybe just seeing that they're okay would be enough for her.
Yeah. Actually, we showed her photos, and her sister showed her the photos of her children, how much they've grown. And that's when we could hear Angie crying. She was excited to see them, but and shocked at how old they were. But you could hear the tears. You could hear that she was crying.
It's tough for spirits because we believe they don't have much of a concept of time.
Right.
For them.
They don't.
They see the sun rise and fall, but they don't have any concept as the year and we ask this all the time, and they never do. They think we're lying when we tell them what year it is if it's an older spirit. For her, to the first time, I think Marissa showed the picture, like, you started, like, freaking out almost because of the fact that, he was, like, 3 or 4 when she passed, and now he's 16. And Marissa was like, oh, he's a handsome boy. And I remember Angie was, like, crying through the spirit box, when she realized how much time had passed.
But to basically follow up with that, I just don't think that was enough for her. I don't know what it's going to take to move her forward. I know that I don't think that we have the gift to do it. I know that there are people that do. If we do have it, I don't know how. She does. She asks for help. She wants to move forward. She wants to go into the light. That's what we hear all the time, and it makes me feel awful. And I've tried to reach out to different people to see if they could help, to see if there was something I could do to move her forward. I hate to see her go, but I want her to be at peace.
We tried to perform a clearing ceremony with her sister and cousin, at the end of their visit, and we were hoping it worked, but it didn't.
Right.
It didn't, and we think it's because of the kids. Like, we're either that, or maybe somebody didn't have faith that it would work in the room. It wasn't Marissa or I. Maybe the cousin. Maybe I don't know. Maybe one of the sisters. I know for a fact that if everybody in the room isn't putting that energy forward and that intention forward, that something like that probably wouldn't work.
Do you think it's possible that we could do a spirit box with her and ask questions and then see if we could help as well? By the way, those of you that are watching this video or even in the future, if anything is resolved with Angie's situation, we can do a follow-up video perhaps with Todd and Marissa. But until then, if you see this video, if you have any ideas that would help, drop comments into this video, yeah? And just leave your impressions of what might help. I think part of it is Angie finding a way to resolve that sorrow about something that she did not. I don't even know if Angie can hear this right now, but Angie, none of this is your fault, and I know you know that part as well. Your children are thriving, they're doing good, and you know what I would say to you, Angie? You brought them into this world, and you gave them love. And if there's anything that can be said about this world and the world to come, love never dies. You're looking for a light. Angie, you help bring light into this world. Finding that light should be very easy for you. You just let that happen. honestly and truly. Realize that you are a wonderful, beautiful person. I won't even call you a spirit. I won't call you a ghost. Just a loving human being that did the best that you could, and realize that what you did plays a huge part in everything your children are doing with their lives now. And Todd and Marissa, if you guys ever want to do a spirit box, I'd be more than happy to say it to her as well, because I think that's
Yeah,
very
no,
important.
she heard you anyway. She, even though she passed a couple floors above, she lives in this apartment. If I turn on Spirit Box, she'd be talking in a second. I did it on a show recently, a few weeks ago, and she came right on and said hi to everybody on Facebook. It was crazy. But she heard you. I just told Marissa, I don't know if Marissa heard it. I heard a whisper right behind my ear. You had said something, and she said like, "Yes, I know." It was a disembodied voice. I heard it right in my ear.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Marissa heard it, but it was pretty crazy. But yeah, she hears you. Believe me, she hears you.
That's good, because it won't. For people like her, I want her to know this right now. Everything that we talked about tonight. Let me make a connection with you, Angie. Okay? I'll ask all the spirits to be around us. People in the audience, bring in all your light. Give it to Angie. Okay? What I want you to realize, Angie, with everything we talked about with Todd and Marissa, all these other spirits, all the horrible things that happen, if anyone would have a hard time finding the light, and I'm getting goosebumps right now, so I hope you can hear me, it would be them and not you. And you know what? If there's anyone trying to stop you from going to that light, feel this in your heart. They're doing it because you're a good person. You have nothing to fear at all. Because if anything, this is a blessing. Bringing all of this experiences together to you, realizing that people have actually put their lives on hold to help you. And that's a greater thing than whatever is there trying to hold you back. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you straight up, Marissa, it can't hold you back. It can't. You are beautiful. Your destiny is not to be here any more than you have to. And your reward is waiting. You're not being denied the reward. Your reward is everything they showed you with your children and everything. That's your reward. Your reward is knowing what you have done. Your reward is having Todd and Marissa bring your family back to you and talk to you. And the greatest reward of all is now there is a light for you to embrace. There is peace. And one other thing, Angie, that you should realize, okay, and I say this from my heart, there is reunion. Even in the good book, it says that every tear will be taken away. Go to that light, because the most wonderful thing is you have such a wonderful, great reunion with your family in the future. And it won't be that long. I promise you that. I really, really do. Heavenly Father, in the midst of all of this conversation, I call on to you with your mercy and love that was given from the beginning when this world was made, when you brought your children forth into this world, Lord. All the mercy, all of the giving, you taught us to give. You taught us to receive. Lord, I ask that Angie realize that she has given. And now we ask for her to receive. Please, God, send your angels to her. Let her experience the thing that we all look forward to. For this life is temporary, but everything with you is forever. Let her know your love, Lord. She needs it. And on top of everything else, I close off by saying this to you, Angie. You deserve it. Amen. Thank you guys if you join in with prayer. And I hope in some way that helps Todd and Marissa. I really
That was
do.
beautiful. I believe it will help.
I believe they were meant to move here as well. Like the South Province, and what are the chances of that? Not only do paranormal investigators move into to help a recently departed soul. But somebody like Marissa who's willing to go to those ends to find her family, like it's a positive thing for sure. For sure.
One other thing I wanted to
Okay.
share real quick. I'm sorry for interrupting. What I do when people approach me to say, "Hey, something's going on in my house," there's some spirits that are aggressive. I had one that attacked a baby. Okay, and what I told them, and it did help. I'm not a know-it-all. Change the energy in your home. You know, change, bring all the love and the light that you can bring into your place. Sometimes something simple like playing Ave Maria, if you know that song. Something as simple as that will start changing the environment. There's so many times that I wish that people would work on the energy, bring in all the good energy. And even with her, with Marissa, I mean, with Angie, give her that love because I know that's what's making her hurt. You know, close your eyes and just send it out to her. You know, I think part of it could be also that she sees your interaction with you, both, and your daughter. But let her know that, hey, you know what? This isn't a curse for you to witness this. This is a blessing. And there's so much more love for you while you wait for that reunion with your children. Change the energy. That is so important. I know we respond as paranormal investigators to what's going on. I know we get caught up in that. I sure as heck do. But if we can just implement that, change the energy. And that's what I want to share with you guys. That's it. That's it. Basically, you know, makes a difference. You know, be blessed, Angie. Be blessed. Absolutely. Guys, I wanted to thank you so much for a great show. Any closing thoughts on your future with what you're doing right now?
We're just gonna keep doing what we do, and we love it. We had a great time tonight. It's a pleasure to be on. Thank you for having us on.
It was awesome. Thank you so much.
We're just gonna try to get more answers and further the research and help as many people as we can along the way, live or dead. Those are the things that we like the best. I know Marissa feels the same way. But house cases we enjoy far more than going to a famous haunted location. For sure, absolutely for sure. Those are goals. But we do actually have a couple of really awesome investigations coming up. We're going to the S.K. Pierce House in Gardner, Massachusetts. Called the Haunted Victorian. It was on Paranormal Witness, Haunting, Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters. Place is super haunted. Oddly enough, I used to drive past it on my way to college all the time without realizing what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then we are actually doing an investigation. We have the Burlington County Prison in New Jersey. Place was made in, I think it was open 1811 to 1965. It's just Marissa and I on that one, no Brandon, and we're gonna have the whole place to ourselves like 6 or 7
Wow.
hours. So, it should be interesting for sure, for sure. So if Rolling Hills was any indication, it should be an active night.
Well,
Active night.
we definitely have to do a follow up. Well, let me talk about the few things that I want to, if you folks have a vested interest in. Follow ups, of course, with the things you'll be doing in the future. Possibly, if it's okay, then we can do something with Angie. I know my roommate wants to help with that too. Maybe, maybe doing a spirit box with her as well. Folks that are watching right now, again, if you have any ideas how to help Angie out, leave comments, please, on this video. Or, if we do a follow up on this, I will definitely let you know. And I will put it up on my YouTube community and on my social media that we're doing a show with Angie. If you have any kind of questions that you think would help her, please keep that in mind and hold on to those questions. And then we'll do that when we do the show with Angie. We'll see what happens first with someone else. You would love a follow up. Thank you, Koniko Kid. I mean, I actually believe it would be a great thing. This is where we operate best, and we have navigation. is when we do that. So a follow up with Angie. I'll have my roommate talk with you guys about Angie as well. And then I want to kind of segment some of the things like your impressions about um, like the Ouija board. Even if you haven't done it so much, we can break it down with different aspects of the paranormal. And then, anything else that you feel that would be interesting to talk about. In other words, I'm saying, long winded as I am, I look forward to many other interviews with you.
Yeah, yeah, us too, and it's great to have topics in mind. Sometimes it's fun too when things segue in different ways. That was interesting as well. So we
Definitely.
love doing it. Well, it's one of the reasons why we do our show as well. And
It's nice to kind of talk to somebody who can like relate to things that we feel.
who can relate, is knowledgeable,
Yeah, and learning some things
very,
too.
yes,
Sure.
of course. And you're gonna have to come on Wickedly Haunted one Friday night. I don't know how early that would be for you, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, you can find a way to get on. We'd love to have you on as a guest. It would only probably be like a 10-minute interview because we do again more of the videos, but it'd be nice to have you on.
Oh my God, it would be, yeah, it'd be great.
Oh, thank
No,
you.
no, we have guests on the show. So.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, I've been doing this for a number of years. None of it is rehearsed. I just turn on the damn camera and start talking and such. But it's all about the guests too. It just creates the chemistry. And you guys are phenomenal. I'm gonna say that right now. And I really ask that you guys continue to do what you're doing, encourage it as well, and never stop sharing what matters. Because I know the scary is definitely something we need to know about, but also your heart and what you do. Oh, people are saying follow-ups. Okay, well, thank you for for saying that. We will have follow-ups, guys. No problems. Let us end with prayer, if you don't mind, as well. Oh, and before we do that, social media contacts from Relatively Paranormal. How can people get involved with what you're doing? Give out your info, please.
It's really easy. Everything is Relatively Paranormal. We have a public Facebook group, Relatively Paranormal. We have a YouTube channel, Relatively Paranormal, and we have actually a really good website, www.relativelyparanormal.com. Has a lot of stuff about us personally. Photo album with probably 150 crazy evidence pictures, and I have 2 video players on there, both tied into YouTube. One's for Relatively Paranormal. One is just for Wickedly Haunted. So you can get all your Relatively Paranormal kind of in one place there as well. And if anyone is interested in buying a power plant, dual energy pump with crystals in it, either the quartz and amethyst model, or I make one with spirit quartz, clear quartz and amethyst. You can buy those on eBay, Etsy, or Facebook Marketplace. It's the power plant. Comes up pretty quick under ghost hunting equipment or something like that. And, they're all different prices depending on color and how many crystals you want. But if you want all your other ghost hunting equipment to really be able to capture the best evidence, I highly recommend plugging the spirits at any location into some energy and giving them what they need to interact with you, because they do need that energy. They really do.
Thanks a lot for that info. I mean, I'm surprised you don't have Instagram yet.
No, but I just started a TikTok that I'm gonna do with just as I come across like really crazy quick evidence clips.
Yes.
Is Instagram like the same deal?
It's fun. Yeah, I mean, you just share excerpts from things. So, yeah, check that out if you want. So, guys, let us do a quick prayer here. I can't do a long one, honestly, because I've been sitting here drinking water and I have to go to the restroom soon. So, anyway, let's do some prayer real quick here. Kuhal, join in as well because I use you as my spiritual backup. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Father, we turn to you in thanksgiving for fellowship. Whatever it may be in our lives, it's a powerful element to our lives. And I thank you for the fellowship of Todd and Marissa. And we also ask you for loving guidance in all things we do and protection against anything that is diabolical. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle, be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him. We humbly pray, and do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and all evil spirits who wander through the world for the ruin of all souls. Amen. Let the light of God be with Todd and Marissa and open up their path and have light in front of them, around them, and in all places. And Lord, finally, a prayer for Angie, that she may find her peace and be invited into your kingdom and know nothing but love and happiness. Thank you, God, for hearing this prayer tonight. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Okay, guys, thank you so much for being on the show. You guys all know the drill, right? We will be coming back and doing more stuff in the future. I'm sorry, what were you saying, Marissa?
Oh, I just want to say thank you so much for having us. It was so much fun.
Thank you. It was an incredible experience. I like to think of it as like a journey or almost like a mini movie or something. But guys, thank you for the prayers and everything. I will be back with you in another show sometime soon. Go and Todd and Marissa, hold on for a second after the show. Ghosts of Hawaii, you're home for a dose of ghosts, and love and light isn't that important. Good night, everyone.